You guys forget it already?
It was like one-on-one for a while, so I know what we talked about. Give me a second.
Tell me what, well, I'm giving you the answer right here. So last week you talked about strengthening relationships, qualifying potential buyers and sellers.
Following up with leads.
Yep. Following up with them. Oh, yep, on Tuesday, keeping every lead and following up with leads. Today, we're gonna talk about win the buyer, win the seller. Right?
Or we
No,
talking about-
qualified
we're talking about
potential.
Oh, you guys are
buyers,
doing qualified
and then-
potential
and
buyers
then
and sellers,
we're
then win the
buyers.
buyer.
Jesse's so sweet, he's going to go first. We have to go to an Eagle Scout ceremony for a young friend of mine,
Yeah,
so.
congrats to him.
I know,
So you did
so I'm gonna do with the buyer.
strengthen relationships and follow up with leads on Thursday, keep every lead and capture more leads on Tuesday. Probably.
Oh, yes.
So, I know we were talking about following up with leads last week and your homework. So I'm worried if nobody did the homework, if nobody even remembered what we talked about, was to create 3 different reasons to keep in touch with leads. Did anybody do that? Okay, well, let's brainstorm it together. So what are some reasons you could follow up with somebody?
Like a reason to call them,
Mhm.
like a reason that you tell them.
Yeah.
to call them.
Because the most common thing I get is, I don't want to feel annoying or salesy, right?
Right.
People say that. So what could we provide a value to a lead? Let's
Events,
just build a little tool belt of value items.
Like I got some.
the neighborhood nurture,
Yep, the neighborhood nurture.
office events.
Yep, office events. What else? Any others? What about you, Jesse? You're like, I'm ready to
I got
share.
a bunch. CMAs, vendor lists. So, hey, who's your favorite vendor for any kind of house related thing? I'm building up a vendor list. And then I can share it with you once I've got it built up so that you have all the best vendors too.
And then you're also helping them help their other friends by putting their other friends on your vendor list or even them on your vendor list.
Become a connector,
Mm-hmm.
super connector.
Yep.
Have super connectors and be a super.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So if you were lead generating to a specific target group, right? Like, I don't want to pick on you, Bridget, but I know I did before, but you are doing like the pets.
Yeah.
So there's follow-ups you could do to leads around like, hey, did you see this dog food got recalled? Right? Or or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
like around
I
that
have
stuff.
tons of reasons to follow up with people's pets, so.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and Angie, I know like with your expireds and for sale by owners, like your follow-up almost has to be specific to them. Like, what am I gonna do? What could you do to get more for your home, or what could we do to get your home sold?
Right, those like value add
Mhm.
pain points that they are all. Ways that you can help.
Yeah. Marcus, one of the owners, he teaches a value ladder class. Have you done that class? Have you done that? Super good class. He got that from, the book just blanked on me. Do you know what that is? What book that was from? I'll Google it, but I'll give it,
I'm like, you're testing me.
put me on the spot.
Yeah.
But it's basically taking an item of value that you're already sending out to people. ClickFunnels is the name of the book.
Oh, I would not.
And,
I'll be honest, that was not.
you provide, so one of the items of value that you're sending to like your clients, you could also put that out as a landing page on your Keller Williams page, and then people will sign up to get that from you. So like, I've even done things like a mover guide, and then they will sign up on the Google Forms on Facebook or on my website or whatever for the moving guide, and then I know that they're looking at moving, so then I'm gonna keep sending them some moving tips or call them, hey, do you want me to recommend some movers for you or whatever, just to get engagement from them. And now I know that they're thinking of moving because they wouldn't have clicked on a moving guide. So just having, and you got to build those personal to you. Etsy's huge. I buy a bunch of my stuff on Etsy and just rebrand it to me. But you could also create your own if you don't want to leverage. But I'm a leverager.
Has a lot of templates.
Yep, Canva has a lot of templates. There's ChatGPT, so just create all different kinds of follow-up stuff. I think is gonna be important based on your niche. Okay, so we have Troy Valentine and Jesse Tolman. They're gonna teach tonight. So I'll do a little bit of interview questions with you guys. Troy, how long have you been in real estate?
2 years.
I think you've been out of real estate for 2 years.
18.
2018, 18 years. Yeah, 18 years. Okay, how long have you been with Keller Williams?
What years?
24,
I think 8.
8 years. Okay, you were the broker of this office? Yep, and now Sean's the broker. And Troy,
So I was principal for this and then I became branch,
yep,
because we merged, and now, and then I became associate.
are you the broker of Winmore?
I was, the broker of our expansion network, but the Kitty Art.
Oh, they did. I didn't know that. I was, because I think it was actually Tyson I was talking to, because he has family in Idaho. But if you were,
Different opportunity now.
it wasn't working. Well, he was being a broker
I
of
was
an
close.
expansion network that we have. What's your favorite lead generation source?
Easy, friendly stuff, so I love,
Sounds miserable.
I know, I love being involved in things that I like, so, like, I serve on a couple of board of directors, I like to stay involved, sports things my kids do, and just, I naturally tend to meet people, and then that general discussions. Real estate, what you do, everything has to come out, and then conversations goes from there, and we talk to enough people, buy and sell, it just, those are my best favorite ways to draw up business, and it's because I don't, not a driver in that regard, as far as like lead generation goes, so I like it to naturally come, so I try and build it through relationships with some kind of company,
Yep, so like some,
which is a slower path.
I like to call it networking groups, but the kind of groups Troy's involved in aren't necessarily for networking, they're for more hobbies.
Yeah.
Type.
Yeah, if I
stuff.
have a passion or my kids are in something, I try and find a reason to get involved as a volunteer or as a committee or something like that, because you do.
You don't sit in the car while your daughter's at horses.
Well, I do that too.
Oh.
But yeah, you try and just make something go and just meet and talk, and I don't agree, bring up real estate, like rarely do I use any kind of like, we're gonna buy or sell in the next 60 days, like rarely do those words come out of my mouth until we get to a totally different relationship stage. In that vein, I do use that method. Relationship building, keep it
Mhm.
as possible.
Yeah, I love it. What's your least favorite? You probably just told us. Yeah, the hard sells.
It's the hardest, it's potentially one of the most fruitful ways to do it, but there's something about
It's gonna get you
setting
there.
it up, creating a plan, it's gonna get you there quickly, some people, but it is hard, it's hard to calendar, it's hard to dedicate that time, and get it done, but it can be very fruitful too, so. Definitely, like I've never even cold called, so I don't.
You're just like a little natural.
Never just
people
opened up
person.
a
He
book,
is.
so that. Ones that I've engaged in, so that's the hardest.
Was door knocking. Door knocking is my favorite.
Yeah, it's awesome, I just. Again, and we were talking about open houses and door knocking for an open house, like, I'm better at that, and I do it, but it's still a hurdle I have to jump. Like, to know, like,
I think everybody feels like that. When they're door knocking for an open house, like, hey, this is what I gotta do, I gotta do it. Not like, yay.
every time I do it, I get, at least 1 or 2 contacts and realize, like, oh, I didn't have that before. I do have some need for the buyer. So,
I love it. What advice, where did your last transaction come from?
my 4th grade elementary school teacher.
She's moving.
She called, no, her son.
Okay, I was like,
So
that's.
she called, those school teachers, elementary, they're like this. It's crazy. My mom taught for 40+ years and was my favorite teacher. I've stayed in touch
Aw.
with them. I sold her dad's house
Okay,
years ago. And so she knew me from that, but then she called.
nice. Yeah. Yep.
So that's where that came.
Yeah, he, well, and speaking of that, so we did get him set up with some pretty, seems like great leverage. I haven't had a real conversation with you about how she's working out yet. But she had been a go-getter agent in the business, but had a baby, so she needed something a little different and he needed an assistant and they were a good match. I think did you try someone else out? 'Cause I sent you, I think I sent you two
Yeah,
people,
you
but
said she'll go with her, I connected, but she came to my office. We chatted, and it's like, just felt.
yep, and now he's leveraging out. Cause
Which,
he's a
that's a
busy
scary
guy.
part of business too, like, I've been in long enough that it's scary to let go, of some control, and, but like, but it's working, it's working.
Yeah. We get a ton of new agents come in and they're like, I just wanna be an assistant, and I'm like, really, people don't hire brand new agents as assistants, it's really, really rare. In fact, I don't even know of a time. You weren't hired as an assistant though, right? You were hired as a buyer's
Oh, you're
agent?
right, I was, yeah.
Yeah, cause they're more likely gonna hire you for that, but.
Someone with
And you were
legs.
paid on commission only,
Yeah,
and people,
Exactly.
new agents come in and they're like, I wanna be an assistant cause I want a stable income, and I'm like, I don't know any agent that's gonna come in and take you fresh out of school.
the reality is there's a lot to learn before you can be an effective assistant, like 6
Mhm.
months worth of time, and it's hard for an agent to pay you for 6 months of double work.
Yeah, training you,
That's-
paying you,
yeah.
training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I almost feel like it's better to just be a buyer's agent, somebody can feed you for
Yeah.
a little bit.
You make
might
more
get your
money
feet
doing that.
underneath you.
So Jesse will interview you. So Jesse's a buyer's agent on a team here. And not a ton of teams here really take new agents either. You happen to have a relationship with her previously. Kind of, through a
Sort
friend,
of.
through a family
Yeah,
situation.
yes, our parents are friends, so, after 5 months of not selling a house, my first 5 months of real estate, not knowing what I was doing. My mom was like, hey, can your daughter help her? We just coincidentally were both here too. How weird is that? And
Oh, you were already at Keller Williams.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
yeah.
know that.
just a crazy coincidence. I like everything happens for a reason, right? And so we just connected phone numbers. Turns out she needed somebody this is when the market was really crazy. She needed somebody to take off some of the load that she was
Take some
carrying.
buyers, yeah.
Cause I couldn't imagine her doing what we managed to do that first year that we were together all by ourselves. That would have been it was difficult between two of us, so.
There's just two of you on the team, right? You
Yeah.
and Kaylee, and then you guys have a
And
assistant?
we have a transaction coordinator. and an assistant. Yeah. And so, yeah, we just hopped on the phone and 2 hours later, I was like, wow, apparently we're a good fit. And so, yeah, it's just been off the races since then.
100%. So you get a lot of leads from her, but you
Yeah.
also work your own.
I do.
So
recommend
tell
them.
us your favorite way to lead generate.
I would honestly say my favorite is referrals. I
That's
love.
what they do.
I thought you were gonna say cold calling.
Really?
You said cold calling to me before. we
I
asked you the question.
I'll be honest, I prefer cold calling to calling my sphere. Randos, I'll call them happily. But I was just thinking about it, and the funnest transactions I have are usually referrals from agents from outside of the US, like the people that I end up having the most, as weird as that sounds. The further away they are, the more genuine our connection usually ends up being, the more compatible we end up being as client agent relationships, so.
How are you creating relationships with the agents to send you referrals?
That is a really good question. Most of them are coincidental, where they just have reached out to me through the KW network. But also that's part of the reason why I like Women's Council and going to the conventions is you meet people out there and you make connections, and that can be really beneficial. Just meeting people from all over the US and developing relationships, becoming friends with them.
Which brings up how she goes to, not how you go to all the conventions, but she's very involved in a group of realtors called Women's Council of Realtors. She's so involved. She's the president of the Northern Wasatch
Yeah.
Women's Council.
So it goes alongside and Northern Wasatch Association of Realtors, it's a set association. It's a national.
And you don't have to be a
association similar
woman
to it. Yeah, you
join.
don't have to be a woman to join. In
Yes,
fact,
you
it's, we have, I would say we're like 40% male in our network.
And we do tons of fun events.
Yes, we've actually got a really fun event coming up. I actually need everybody to come to it because it's gonna be a blast.
Is it the Christmas?
The Christmas one's gonna be really
Okay.
fun too, but that's more social. The next event we have coming up is Vertical Blonde. I don't know if you guys have ever seen her.
Oh, I have
She's in
seen
a
her.
wheelchair.
Yes.
Yes, so that's gonna be.
She
a
was in
blast.
ATV accident.
You know what? I don't
I'm
know her
pretty sure
story.
that's what you got.
Somebody else is, my event director is setting her up and I'm so excited. I like to like go and blink when it comes to speakers because
Oh.
then I get the whole like, no, you're, I gathered that from the vid, cause I got the media kit, so I've got her videos and stuff that I've been posting, but yeah, it's gonna be, this is the event I've been the most excited for this entire year.
When is that?
October 16th
Where is it at?
at the Copper Nickel.
The coffee.
Oh, that's so fun. A
Yes.
venue, isn't it?
It is.
Is it 20 for non-members?
45.
45 for
45
non-members? Or you can join for
234.
234. be a
234 is a
member,
membership.
And then all the events are free and you'll renew your membership in January.
Yes.
So
yep.
So
So
it
I
might
would
not be worth it
argue-
to join
yeah.
right now.
That's, we usually have, National usually does what's called New Member Nudge in October and they have not released anything, so. I mean, we're not doing new member nudge this year, so it's just advantageous to pay for the next 2 events, you don't pay less.
Yeah. The next 2 events are Vertical Blonde and the
There's
Christmas
one
social.
Christmas holiday social, yep. And so, yeah, and then join in January and come and have a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost every month we do an event.
Yeah. And they're pretty high quality too, events,
Yeah. You
honestly.
usually get fed.
Yeah, most of the time there's food there. You also get to network with other agents in the business, different things like that.
So one thing as a brand new agent, I would say, like, it's kind of sad to think of how small my world would be if I had joined Women's Council straight out the gate. I would literally only know the probably 40 agents who are very active within our office, and that would be it. Instead, I know my network is so large and reaching out to so many different brokerages and so many different like areas of our industry. I know some vendors because of Women's Council. And so I like, that's just invaluable. Those relationships are invaluable. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
For
every
sure.
new agent should join because I'm like, it was crazy. The first time the top NWAR top 250 came out was like after I joined Women's Council and I've been in for like 6 months and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God,
I know these.
I
people.
know so many of the people in the top 250. And if, just so you guys know, there's around 2,500 agents in NWAR. That top 250 is the top 10%. I know a ridiculous amount of agents that are in that top 10%. Like they're the, you want to be around those types of people because that's gonna sound weird. Their success is gonna rub off on you, but it's more than their success. It's
Oh,
their
for sure.
habits, their
Yep.
mindset, their growth is gonna rub off on you.
The
Sorry,
way they're
that's my
talking
little
about the industry.
pedestal for Women's Council, yes.
So you recommend just like joining events until January and then.
Yeah,
And then joining Women's Council.
Membership from there.
Yes, yep,
How do we follow what kind of events and things that
You
they're?
have social media. right?
yes.
Okay.
So it's Women's Council of Realtors, Northern Wasatch,
Okay.
because there's many different ones.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
Salt
Northern
Lake.
Wasatch, yes,
Okay.
yep. So it's a blast, we have fun.
And Rusty I'm sure you probably feel the same way. Rusty was also president of the Women's Council before
And state president
and
too.
state president, yeah, and now she's on the board of directors at NWAR, but she told me directly that 90% of her leadership skills have come from being on leadership at Women's Council.
You learn
She
a lot,
really grew quick.
yes. And we were just talking about how brutal it can be.
And we were, yeah.
But it's good, it's learning, it's all learning, so, yeah. The
What-
purpose is,
Where did your last transaction come from?
it was actually my high school boyfriend and his wife.
And he reached out to you.
Yep,
How did you know you sold real estate?
just keeping up on Facebook and just re-engaging with people in my sphere.
How many times week, day, month do you post on social media?
Minimum, I post like 2 days a week. I try to post more. I can only post so many pictures of my baby.
Yeah, it is all real
Like,
estate, that's what I was gonna ask. next.
Yes, mostly it's real estate. I should post more personal stuff. I find I get the best traction off of something weird. If I post something really weird, people, or something that's rising, not political. Don't ever get political, but
Like what were we talking about earlier, the butts or whatever?
oh yeah, that would be fun to post. I didn't think about that.
Did you
Yeah.
guys know, what, I can't remember what it's called.
Buck naked.
No, but what's
Oh.
the one I was telling you?
Oh, all intensive.
Yeah, all intensive purposes. Did you guys know that's not what they're saying? They're saying all intents and purposes. I always thought it was all intensive purposes. So my friend told me that the other night and I was like, what? I had to Google it. He's like, no, I was watching a show. I was like,
Yeah, say post something weird like that. People love that. I can't remember, but.
we were
there's
like,
multiple
she was
times where I'm
Googling,
like,
we were looking it up.
six to 12 people will comment, and I'm like, you guys really have opinions about the strangest things.
Yeah.
I just started a Threads account today, like, I'll see how that goes for social media.
I haven't figured it
Yeah,
out.
I think it's like the new Twitter is kind of like
That's
what
the
I'm
difference.
seeing, but I don't like Twitter. I hate Twitter. So it's like, I feel like it's like a secret calm version of Twitter where maybe people aren't gonna be so psycho. I don't know.
I'm,
We'll
that's
see.
how, it's different.
I could barely make an account and while I was out there eating my Chick-fil-A.
I keep getting invited and I keep going, I know side, but I guess it's legit.
Yeah, I will see.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like, it's very simple. And I kind of like that.
Oh, I
about
like
it.
that.
It like reminds me of like your Facebook feed, how like it used to be where it would just be like whatever was most recently posted, but I know it's still algorithm curated, but we'll see.
What kind of social media posts are you posting about real estate?
Open houses, like listings that we have going on. We do a lot of videos. We love to do videos announcing things that we got going on. like the
You
building
guys
house.
also do educational videos all the time. I
We
feel like.
try. I feel like we should do more. I need to edit it still because it's like 34 minutes long.
Mm.
But a whole video on all the things that were wrong with my house and why you need a builder or need an agent when you are building a house, because I didn't. Back before I was an agent, I did not have an agent and built my house, and I go over all the things that were wrong with the agent could have helped me fix.
Mm. You are putting that on YouTube probably.
Yeah, yep. I'm gonna see if I can shorten it or chop it up a little bit to go on social media a little bit better, but that takes time. It's 34 minutes of footage to think about, and work on.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions for Troy or Jesse? About lead generation or anything? What advice would you give? We'll go with you first. What advice would you give to new agents?
Don't overcomplicate it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Just talk to people, just do it.
yeah, just get in relationships.
Don't worry about, I mean, know
Be
your
a best
contracts and
friend.
that kind of stuff, but just make the contact, make the call, and worry about the little stuff later. That's what you get brokers for, and connections like us and Allison and everything in here, you can figure out the other things later. You need to just get in front of people, so just do it, just get. Sounds cheesy, just do it, but don't complicate it. Just have the conversations, try and work in real estate some way. You don't have to go for the close the first call, just make more contacts, and talk to more people and build those relationships.
And don't be shy about posting on social media or anything, even though you don't feel like you know what you're doing yet. Right, just do it. What advice would you give a new agent? And you can't take his.
Don't get stuck on, like, not analysis paralysis, but that is one thing.
Yeah,
Overcomplicating your systems. I'm guilty of that, swapping to 10 different systems, just methods of doing business. Like I said, keep it simple, use the tools that we
don't
have.
chase this shiny objects.
No.
They're all, yeah.
No, they're so, and
distracting.
don't spend money unless you absolutely have to. We don't
With
spend money
revenue.
on leads,
People
yeah.
lead.
Red light, green light,
Mhm.
all the KW stuff. I just might drink the Kool-Aid over here.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking, I was talking yesterday about the red light, green light on the budget in shift when we talk about that, but I'm having people audit their calendars. You've got a red light, green light your
Oh,
calendar
yes.
too.
That's a good point. Yeah. 100%. Stick to your schedule. That's actually, that would probably be my number one. Stick to your schedule. It's in the calendar. Do it.
Yep,
That's my role.
yeah. Well, and I just was reading this morning with some people, I did a little book thing on the MREA. And we just read the focus chapter about like putting your top 20% has to be in your schedule, but the
Yes.
rest doesn't, because it's just gonna distract you. And do you guys know what the top 20% is in real estate? You do, because I just barely had the conversation with him. Leads, listings, and leverage, like. For sure, yeah. Okay, we're gonna let them get started, so we will have, we setting up professional audio? What is that?
So who do we have? We got some Zoom.
We got Ron online. I'm looking for the mouse. Do you see it? Anyway, all of these. I'm not gonna stay, but you guys,
And just this little,
it will in a second when I'm
it
done
will in a
with the
minute.
mouse. Okay, now it will.
Okay.
Try it. Hold on. Yes, we got it. Okay, Troy Calentine. Here he is,
you hear a wing.
in the flesh.
In the
He's,
flesh.
he's a rare sighting around here too.
I'm here always, just. So where shall I start? Kind of have a little intro, who I am, where I am. I guess, real quick though. I think it's wise to say it doesn't matter where you started. You can go where you want to be, right? Like I didn't start in real estate with the intention of becoming a realtor, as weird as it sounds. I was in new construction, sweeping garages and doing different things, and honestly, the 08 crash of the market kind of forced me into becoming a realtor, and it was really like my heels dug, and not particularly thrilled about it. But it was by far the best thing that ever happened to me as far as, you know, what I could do with my life, income and freedom, all the things I learned in leadership and different things along the way. So it doesn't matter how you got here, just have your sight, you know, keep your needle pointed to where you want to go and keep consuming and keep coming to ignite, and don't overcomplicate it. Just get front people and do it. You'll fail forward along the way, as I did any time. So the process for transaction, you're gonna lead generate, you're gonna follow up with that lead, and then you end up at a transaction. So it's not a whole lot to discuss on this slide unless you guys want. And anyone who's taken Ignite from me as well, you're gonna find out. I might get to here, I might get to the end, I don't know. It just depends on how engaging our conversations are and how excited I get about a particular topic. So bear with me. But the agenda for today, we're gonna talk about A buyers, so qualifying who is an A buyer, getting the appointment, preparing for the buyer consultation, conducting the consultation, getting the signed buyer agreement, and then we'll talk about some ahas and recap. So the right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach. Just ask for it. Right? Don't overcomplicate it. Just ask for it. Can you meet tomorrow at 2? You didn't, I didn't have to think about it. I just said, I gave you a choice and option. No, you can't. How about Friday at 4? Right? Like you can flip from one to the next. Just ask for it and just tell, you know, until you get the no. That's maybe not the best example, but you really just got to ask for it. And it's as easy as that. There's a million different scripts and a million different like role play scenarios that you could do, but if you don't ever ask for it, you're never going to know how that scenario is going to go. So yeah, so the right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach. Just ask for it. So let's talk about A buyers and what is an A buyer. So you guys are all familiar with this lead funnel here. Lead capture goes into your database, and then we're going to turn those leads where we start forming relationships to where they become a contact that you're actually communicating with, strengthening that existing relationship, and eventually push them down into preparing them for a conversion when you're interacting off of the needs their needs and the offerings that you have. And then ideally you spit them out as a client and the circle goes round and round. So, but what is an A buyer? Does anyone here already classify the buyers in their database in a particular manner, like A's, A plus B's? Jesse does. You're not in your head, you do as well. Tell me about it. What's your approach?
They're like 1 to 3 months of expressed interest in purchasing. So they're not like the ones that I'm nurturing 6 months.
They've already raised their hand, and your name is
Angie.
Angie. Okay, so they've already said, Angie, I think I will be buying or selling, getting a relocation or whatever it is. And so you already know you've had the conversation, probably asked for it, right? In the conversation, or they've come out and told you. So those are the actually. Right? Anybody else? Yes.
We do ours a little bit different, but I use the command tile sections, and they're in my hot area. Yeah, I create the contact, and then I create an opportunity. If they're an A buyer, they get created into an opportunity.
Perfect. Yeah, you don't want to create all your C buyers in opportunities, or you will hate command.
Yeah.
Because you'll open it up and just be like, I don't even know where to start. So again, keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it. But if you ask them the question and they fall into this A category, create an opportunity and then start moving the drip campaigns and your campaigns appropriate for that buyer, where they stand, or that seller, where they stand in your pipeline. You can definitely identify. I'm gonna go through a little bit of how I classify buyers real quick, but you can create whatever system you want. It can be A's, 1 through 5s, it could be animal names. I don't really care what it is. It's a little bit like, what's the best way to ask for a listing appointment, or for an appointment? It's just to ask for it. The best way to organize your database is however makes sense to you. So I use basically A+ through D. A+ is a buyer or a seller who's bought or sold with me and referred somebody. These are my, like, I love these people, right? When I see them at a grocery store and they're like walking away, I'm going around and like connect and talk to them and say hello and right and connect. Those are the people like I want to be in front of them at all times. They bought or sold with me and they've referred someone. My A buyers are people who bought or sold from me, with me, right? That did interact, but they haven't yet referred someone. They'll really get the good treatment if they refer someone to me. Okay. A B buyer is more or less what you're saying your A buyer is, right? How you classify them. So a B lead is someone who says, I'm interested in buying or selling. 3 months, 6 months. I don't necessarily put too big of a swing on that because most of the time they don't even know when they're really going to buy or sell. So if they say they want to buy or sell in the somewhat near future, I classify them as a B. A C is someone that I know, I've actually contacted and communicated with, but I don't know the status of whether they're going to buy or sell. And then a D buyer is I ran a Facebook campaign on an open house and I got a name and an email, never once replied back. I don't know anything about this person other than I have some information. That's my D buyer. Yeah,
So you said A+ is they've already done a transaction.
I've
with you,
transacted with them and they referred someone to.
And then A is they've just done a transaction. So your B is people that haven't transacted, and A and up are people who have transacted that you're looking for future.
That's how I
or-
put in as a tag.
Okay, and then those are just people you're looking for future or referrals.
Exactly. So like my A client, my A sphere, for instance, if I'm looking to generate new leads and new contacts, I know that these A's, they've never referred someone to me. So how can I engage with them in a manner that might get a referral out?
Hmm.
Can I invite them to my SOI event and ask them, can you bring a friend? You know anyone else who might be interested in coming to this pumpkin patch event? That in particular, if they had an interest in buying or selling real estate or had a real estate question, bring them, get a free pumpkin and I'll talk to them about that. Or not, I don't really care. Just show up to my pumpkin patch event or whatever it is. So those are the people that I could nurture that way. My A pluses are the people that I might reach out and say, right, hey Jesse, it was so great, helping you guys in your house last year. And by the way, I was so thankful for working with Mark and Susie, who also bought over in Clinton. I'm having my pumpkin patch event. I would love for you guys to come. And by the way, who do you know who might want to take advantage of that same level of service I provided you guys in your transaction, that I could interact with or engage with this. Again, I never say it like that to anyone, but generally that's the conversation I want to have with them is trying to generate more referrals from those people. The people who haven't referred to me, I want to have conversations that give me that. I know they liked me. They did business with me. So there's a chance I can get a referral. How do I get that referral? Then the B's I need to get off. So
On the Ds, like you're adding those people to your contact list?
absolutely. Until they tell me no.
People you haven't talked to?
If they tell me no, then I take them off, right? If they said, take me off your list, then I make sure they get removed. But otherwise, I don't know. And so I want to continue to find ways to try and get in front of them. I'm going to put them on my monthly newsletters. I'm going to put them on my, I'm going to put them on my different campaigns that make sense. For instance, an open house, one of the best ways I think that you can spend money inside of Command is in the Facebook paid campaigns for an open house. You can geo-target basically your open house and get leads directly from that. They see your ad, they click on it, they're required to give you a phone number, name, and email, and they're validated inside of Command. The ticket is when you get it, you need to call, or have Jesse call, or have my buyer's agent call, like quick, like right then, like not 10 minutes later, not an hour, like right then as quick as you can, because it's fresh on the mind. They're like, oh yeah, I did just click on that house in Roy. Yeah, sorry, I'm not interested. I've got mouse happy and clicked on it.
They always say that.
Yeah, you always say that, right? Oh, I didn't even know I clicked on it.
Yeah, but
So that's a great way, but if you don't connect or you call, you text and they don't reply back, you can still keep them inside there and you can auto tag there's a lot of great tech pieces in Command. You can auto tag them that they came from that campaign from the House of Roy that was listed between 350 and 400. Then you can create future campaigns, assuming that that's the type of house that they're looking for.
I auto tag the city and then the MLS number, is how I do it, so then I can remember what city, and then I can look up the MLS number to see what house interested them.
I spent several $100s on different campaigns, didn't do any auto tagging, went back and deleted basically every lead because I was like, I have no idea. Like, where are they? I was like, it was just, it just drove me crazy. So I just like got rid of them and started from scratch and created the auto tag. And then I can sort, I can have another agent sort, I can have an assistant sort, and you can do a lot of leverage components.
You even set it up to start them on smart plans, so that sets when they come in off of a, just we're talking about tech now, sorry.
No, it's
But
great.
when they come in off of a Facebook ad, they are automatically tagged with neighborhood nurture and I can't remember what other ones. Our monthly newsletter.
Yeah,
And then, I don't know if we do quarterly call plan, but then we have a series of like 8 outreaches. I think 8 calls, 8 texts,
yeah,
and
the
8
it's
emails.
the 8 buyer.
8 by 8 or something like that, or 8 by 4 or whatever they call it, but yeah.
I
And
do the same with it.
yeah.
So then it shows up. So again, we'll go down tech for a second,
Yeah.
because this is the way that you win a buyer. Win up on the slideshow, this is the way you win a buyer, right? They're doing this all over the place probably, right? They're clicking on several other places, and the agent that gets in front of them provides value through those connection pieces is the agent they're most likely to do business. If you know that they were searching for a house in Roy and it was that price range with that number of beds and baths, you can make some assumptions from their search. Right? You don't always want to assume, but you can sort of extrapolate that they were interested. So that gives you reasons to be inquisitive when you call about what was it about that 4-bedroom, 2-bath house for $495 that interested you, whatever. So you can use those components. And so you can be pretty aggressive. And again, you can automate a lot of this, so it doesn't take your whole day to do it. But the beauty is you've got your mobile. If you're, I don't know, nobody in here looks busy. You know, just napping all day. Just everyone's got so much going on, right? You look at your calendar and it's like, sometimes makes me want to vomit, right? But when I have Command in here, I set up these auto campaigns, tasks will auto generate onto the homepage of Command in my app. So on the drive, I got a 20-minute drive or 40-minute drive. I can listen to a podcast or King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard music that I'm jamming out to, or I can open up Command and I can select through like, oh yeah, what was your name?
Guys,
Kyson pops up, lead from Roy Open House, whatever. I can call you right on my drive quite easily. So, you know, leverage those components so that you can win the buyer. So, so the buyer cycle leads to appointments. You get the lead, you want to move them to an appointment. Then you're going to prepare them for buyer or prepare for your buyer consultation, have the buyer consultation. You're going to find them a home, offer and negotiate the contract, and then you're going to process the contract to close, and then post closing system. So all these are this is the 7 steps of the buyer service cycle. You should know this whole cycle really well because again, in your conversations with your buyers and people that you meet, you want to know and understand the whole piece, not just searching for a home, right? A lot of buyers and people out there are like, well, realtors don't do anything. I've searched for the house, I find the house. But you do a lot more to offer and negotiate. You run it through escrow and then post closing system follow up, make sure that everything worked well. So know that system, know how it all works. Ahas and yahas. I speak quick because this class goes so fast. What is my time anyways? Is it 1 hour?
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
at
that's usually when we do it. So-
6:25, no, 5.
yeah.
Okay,
You got a while,
good.
yeah, 5:39.
Yeah, you guys are stuck with me. So, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think my biggest aha is just like, have a simple system set up. Make your life so much easier.
Yeah,
And-
like the tech stuff we were talking about doesn't sound very simple, but I promise if you do a tech class or 2 here, you'll realize it is pretty simple. And even better than that, once you get to a point that you can hire an assistant or BA, like they set it up for you. You just, you know, you're the face of the game. They're behind the scenes making it all work. So yeah.
can I ask another question about your system, your classification system?
Please.
So you said that I think it was B is people that you know are interested in the somewhat near future. And then C is you don't know if they're interested, like you don't know what their status
Yeah.
is.
For instance, Kyson, we went to school together.
Uh-huh.
We went to school together. I know
Right.
you're my phone. I got your email. We see each other casually around town.
Mhm.
You're my C.
Okay,
I don't know anything more than that.
yeah,
Then we meet, we go to a high school reunion party. God, I'm not your age. But if I were, and we go to high school reunion, we're talking, you're like, yeah, I just got married here. We're thinking about buying a house down the road. Boom, you move from C to B.
got it.
Even if you didn't tell me that you want to work with me, I know that you want to buy or sell a house. So you're in my system now. I'm gonna start adding value
Uh-huh.
for you looking for a house. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
and then my other question was, what about people that you run into that you know are interested, but it's not for longer out, further out, like a year, 2 years, things like that, where they're like, oh, we can't because of X, Y, Z, but maybe
Call
in
it
a
B
couple
minus.
years. A
I
B
probably
minus.
should, I probably should refine my categories a little bit better. I would probably still keep them in a C, but with a note and some information
Okay.
that, right, so here's the problem with that I found. I've ran into clients and people, I've lost deals, when I say lost deals, because I didn't take action appropriately. Because they're initially telling me I'm 18 months to 2 years out.
Mhm.
So, okay, well, you're not worth my time to like really get in front of right now, right? You know, I'm not gonna be as aggressive right now. And 6 months later, they see me at the high school reunion, like, dude, I just bought a house and this is sweet, $600,000. I'm like, oh, you're the worst person in my whole life, I hate you forever. And so buyers are liars, sellers are the same. And so even if they tell you they're a year and a half to 2 years out, if they say they're thinking about buying or selling, I promise you want to start adding value soon.
I almost would argue, most people need to be prepping themselves financially 2 years out from
Mhm.
that purchase time, so like, tell them that. And then say, have you checked on your credit and have you chatted with the lender to see what your financial situation is like?
For sure, 100%. And
Yeah.
then what are you doing there, right? You're adding value.
Yeah.
What did you say it is? A connecting connector?
Oh, it's super connected.
A super connector. Be the super connector,
Mhm.
even though you're not on a team. I presume you're a solo agent.
Mhm.
Bullshit. You got a team, Kyson, man. You're not a team. You got a lender in your pocket or two. You got a title agent. If you don't, just find one or two that you got. Get a couple of good home warranty people. Make your list. Get your little team built up. Even if you don't have formal written arrangements with these people, get that built up so that when that conversation comes, you can say, hey, I would love to read, I don't know if you knew, but it takes sometimes 18 months or so to really like shape up your credit, make sure income's in check, and we can really help you fine tune what that looks like for your purchase. I'd love to introduce you to my lender, Becca. Would you mind if I had to reach out to you so you can just kind of start the process? There's no obligation to use her, but she really could give you some great information and insight on what the process looks like to get pre-qualified for a mortgage when you're ready. I know you're not ready today, but when you become ready, there's a lot of paperwork that you might want to do and things to, boxes to check. And things you could do today that might get you in a better situation for the purchase when you're ready. So have that conversation early, start adding value. Put it out there, right? I know you said 2 years,
Mhm.
but it takes time and I want to make sure that, we're on the same page, right? So, and then build that up. So then you know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Thank you.
You wanna be on their mind constantly, anytime they think of a house, oh, I gotta talk to Kason,
Tyson.
Kyson.
Yeah, you want to be, so you want to make sure that if they're not on your monthly newsletter, that person absolutely gets it, right? If they're not getting invited to your SOI events, they need to be invited every single one. And then you should probably invite most, that's a different class. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. And again, so my system doesn't work for everybody. Some people might say, look, if they're not within a 6 month, they said they're buying in 6 months, I'm not treating them as a B buyer.
Mhm.
Because I don't have time for that jazz. I treat it a little bit differently. And again, my experience tells me that most people that tell me 6 months, they're 3 months. People tell me 12 months or sometimes 24 months. I don't know how to predict it,
Uh-huh.
but I do know if they say they're gonna buy or sell, they're at least curious enough that I need to be highly engaged as often as possible.
Are the people in your C and D list, are these all people, so they're obviously not people you've necessarily spoken with, so you're just like, have contacts like in Facebook that I haven't spoken with, or friends from high school.
So that, to me, that's a C. So if
So
you
throw
know
them
the
in and
name,
you
you
put
see
them on a
them,
campaign.
you see them around, you know who they are, right? You know this person. You could open your phone and they're maybe in your phone.
Yeah.
Somebody you would actually have a conversation. My D buyer again is that lead that came in. I have a couple of leads. I don't know if you got this, it's kind of a big deal. But I'm friends with Joseph Smith 3 times in my database. I've got his email. So I'm pretty legit. I don't know, I have no idea who he is, but I've got, right, so I get these
Yeah.
people in my database that I really don't know. I've never met them, I've never
They're in
talked to them.
smart plans.
I've tried, they're in
Get
smart
emails.
plans, I put them on drip campaigns, I put them on my monthly newsletter, but I've never met them, I've never talked to them, I've tried. to reach out, but just haven't reciprocated, right? So that to me is not a
So
contact.
you haven't necessarily tried to reach out to it all. There are people that haven't responded, I think, is like one of the biggest differences
Sure.
in what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Like you
anyone
still
who,
want to keep working them, but they don't get special treatment when it comes to like special events. If you're gonna spend money, you're not spending money on those people.
I may invite those people, so in kind of a different class maybe, but I may invite those people, but it might be a different invitation, which is, I'd love for you to come to my pumpkin patch. Call me, click this link to get more information, right? My CBAs though, they're just getting the info, right? Like click here to register and come on board, like we're gonna party. My D buyers though, are people I'm gonna say like, I wanna know who this is. Like, do they a felon with no job and they deal drugs for a living and that's the only way they can source their, like, I wanna kinda have nothing against drug use, right? Like, I wanna know, like, is this someone I might be able to transact with?
We need
or-
source.
I need to like, yeah, like, I wanna have something warm fuzzy of some sort, so those D buyers might get a different invitation or no invitation at all. And that's one of the best reasons to have some classifications in your buyer pool, is so that you know how to treat them, how to talk to them, what the message is that you're trying to relay.
And then based on the classification, when you're meeting someone, when you get a new lead, does that change like what, I assume that changes what actions you take with them, like what campaign you put them in, if you put them in one 8x8 or different 8x8 or things like that?
Yeah, and so, yes, ultimately, yes. So
Mhm.
again, my system is different than everybody else's, so how you wanna treat a buyer and how many different 8x8s. I will go back to the simplicity.
Mhm.
Do what works for you, and the least complicated you can make it, the better. It's really easy. I found this out as well with Command. I got super excited. I was here when it very first rolled out. And I built all these cool campaigns with all these like auto things happening, and then I realized like, I got 7 campaigns that I don't even know what they are. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, so find a couple of streams that work. For you, and ones that you can follow up with and that you will commit to take action on. Right, so if you build a campaign that's like, well, I'm gonna pop by their house every Wednesday at 5. No, you're not, Tyson, give me a break, man, you got other things to do. So don't build a campaign you won't take action on, but
Mhm.
but also, most people will fall into a fairly simple set of funnels or campaigns that you can act on. But yes, each person that comes in, I wanna try and understand the best I can which of those classifications they are. My A pluses, A's and B's are pretty easy to sort out. The C's and D's are also pretty, do I know them or not? If I know them, they're a C, if I don't.
Mhm.
Are you doing that? How do you do that in Command?
I use tags. Yeah, so you just create a tag, boom, and there you go. And there's a million different tags again, so I can get crazy on tags. So like I have, I like to ski a lot, probably more than I should. It's an unhealthy habit. It's healthy, unhealthy, but I might have, this is a B client and they're a skier. And this is, they're also a mountain biker. And so then I know, like, I got these 3 things. I know they want to buy or sell a house. Plus I know like ski and mountain bike. I jam on all those things. Let's hang out. Or they're into quilting. I don't know, like I can sort my whole database based on things like I could put, I could even have a 2024 pumpkin patch tag. And I would only add that tag if they actually came to the event. So then I know everyone who came to my 2024 pumpkin patch event, I can sort right in 3 seconds. And I can re-invite them next year with a special invitation to show up a little early and get a special prize. Right, so you can get as complicated or simple with it as you can. You can add as many tags as you want and sort by one or multiple tags.
I probably missed this part of classes, but my SOI is really incomplete. I'm having a hard time because I either have just a phone number for folks or I have just an address for folks. And so it's making it very hard to reach most of my SOI, at all. I'm like, what do I do? Do I make 12 phone calls? Do I send them something in the mail? Do I do email for everybody? And so how did you get to where you felt like your database was complete enough that you could actually use it as a tool?
Just kidding. It's always gonna be incomplete. But what you have is way better than nothing. So if it's in there, you've got like your leaps and bounds ahead of a lot.
That's a reason
So-
to make a phone call.
That's the reason to make a
Yeah,
phone call, right?
okay.
Yeah, I just noticed I was updating my database and I realized I didn't have your
Okay.
address,
Okay,
right? Ask for it, get the
Yeah.
appointment. Hey, oh, great, now that I have your address, but I pop by, I'd love to see your neighborhood. Where you live, depending on the relationship.
sure.
So yeah, if you have the phone number about the address, just call. Yeah, I'd love to have your address. You call them, it goes to voicemail, send them a text message, set yourself up a task to follow up with another text message later.
Okay,
If you have their address but not their
Christmas
phone
is
number,
coming up.
pop by. I was just
What
in your
about
neighborhood.
Christmas cards, man. And, but you have to be legit. You do have to send a Christmas card. And then I would say for that first year, you only maybe send one piece of real estate related mail.
right.
Then you gotta sneak in there a little bit, cause otherwise it's like, oh, I see what, I had somebody say, I didn't give you my address so you could send me this.
I feel like my
Things
SOI
like
would be a
that.
much
I'm
better
sorry.
tool if it were more complete, and I just
It
don't feel
100%
like,
will.
I don't feel like, I'm just like,
So-
where do I, how do I?
So
even get
make it a
this done?
game, gamify it like this, right? Don't spend your whole day. I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier, which was keep it simple and just do it. So if they've got a phone number, be calling this week.
Okay,
If they got a phone number, but like make it intentional. If you've got a phone number but no email and address, call them to get, like, that's your intention and just ask.
okay,
Be like totally honest, hey, this is Bridget, I know we haven't talked in a little while. But I was just updating my database, or like, I was just updating my contact list. I realized I don't have your phone number, or I don't have your email and your home address. Where do you guys live?
okay,
I live at 3530 south, 625 west.
okay,
Combined. That's fine. Right, so just call and ask. Now, the cool thing, you can gamify, it, you can see the health of your database inside Command.
Yeah.
Probably the coolest tool you could use in your position right now, right? You're gonna watch, you're gonna make an intentional effort, calendar it out, so each day you spend a half an hour, or twice a week you spend an hour, whatever your
Okay.
calendar will allow, and like close the door, do everything to just hyper focus on increasing that health of your database.
Okay.
And by that, that means adding those emails and those addresses to anything that doesn't, so then you have that complete picture.
okay,
And then from there, you can start adding more tags and more information.
right, okay, thank you.
And don't forget to ask every one of the people that's in your SOI, because SOI for you is your sphere of influence, so these are people you know already. Pretty much. You know of, or they. So make sure that in those conversations, you're asking about, like, do you remember Travis from high school? Like, what's he up to these days?
Okay.
Man, I'd love to connect with him.
To
Do you
try
get a
to
chance have his
expand
number?
off of them.
Expand on it, get those referrals, get additional connections. and
Okay,
contacts.
that's great, thank you.
Find reasons to invite them, but
Yeah.
make it a game and make it a game with a goal to say, I don't know how many people are in your SOI, say it, but I'm just gonna say it's 200. Of the 200, only 35 are complete with
Mhm.
all those details,
Sure.
those main details, full name, phone number and email, right? Or phone number, email and address, right? Those are for me, the key ingredients. If you have, 15% of the 200, which would be 30, you have 200. Like, make it a goal to get it to 25% in 30 days, and then just watch the needle move and see what you can do about it. You can do a lot of things with Facebook search. So if you have their name and phone number, but not their email, you might be able to find it through Facebook. So try a few different approaches that make sense for you. Well, let's talk about getting the appointment. What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys do use Boomerang at all for marketing.
I don't, but I've heard of it and have been sent to this slip.
Well, it just, the nice thing was that it's local, so you very rarely get the chain restaurants and things like, that's more like Cafe Murph, if you're in Ogden, you get like, and it's like, they're great coupons, like a free coffee or a free, you don't. And I found that, that's how I went through to get everyone address. I was like, great, I've got these like awesome like, coupons I sent out to everybody, and there was a good response, and then people like, I got a lot of good feedback with them.
So you get an evaluate, right?
Yeah.
Evaluate doesn't have to be real estate specific.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last class I taught. I think for me, value add comes in a bajillion different ways. Again, I'm a geek about skiing and mountain biking, so my value add might be in the new EXO transmission that Shimano just came out with, right? Like, it had nothing to do with real estate, but it doesn't really matter because I came to the conversation with value add. You sending a coupon has nothing to do with real estate, but you added value to the relationship in a way that they'll remember. Drive by Cafe Mark next time, remember, and you gave me a coffee, that was rad, or damn it, forgot my coffee. My coffee, you're like,
It's that
Right.
good feeling when they think about it too, instead of kind of like maybe a standoffish feeling or kind of salesy, I've gotta put my walls up kind of
I
feeling.
feel like it was good, and they do it, like, my people in Sandy are getting something for Sandy, my people up here. are getting
Yeah, I like
something for
that.
Ogden.
You said it was boomerang advertising.
Yeah, Boomerang.
It's like a,
It's a,
it's a mailer deal, yeah, and they basically, they compile like local network coupons and advertisement type stuff. And
Yeah.
Those vendors like pitch in on it and then you, pay. Yeah. so-
And would you say that it was more like for local businesses, small businesses. We're really into, supporting our small businesses in our community, so.
You'll occasionally get like a, I don't know, what is it, Zaxby's or something, like chicken sandwich, I mean, but it's chicken sandwich. But it's, yeah, it's mostly local.
But oftentimes those are like, I'm funny about those too, because last time they're franchise owners who are local, it might be a
Yeah.
national brand, but.
Yeah.
You know, but
And
like my daughter works at Scooters and I didn't realize it, but they're, the one that she works at, they own 3 local franchises. They live right here in Roy. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like at first I was like, I mean, I'm a David Rise guy because Jeff hooks me up. But, so, but yeah, so, but value add, right? I think value add, when we talk, a lot of times people pigeonhole themselves in this real estate conversation. The value add has to be, oh, I can do a CMA for you. I can help you get your taxes lower, or I can help you through this. Like, that's part of it, sure. But like, really, it's relationship based value add. And it could be, you know, again, something you're great at with connecting these people with the boomerang thing or some other kind of value piece that you have. So let's get the appointment. Keys converting your A buyers. And again, my A buyers may be a little different, but respond right away to lead inquiries, get valid and complete contact information, save it to command and create an opportunity. Determine their motivation to buy so you can speak to it. Set an appointment, time and date for as soon as possible. So let's talk about respond right away to lead inquiries. I mentioned it earlier, right? Jessie was nodding because I assume she's had the same experience, right? You get a lead inquiry. This I'm going to categorize this as a sign call, for instance. As even a sign call is a much warmer lead inquiry
That's a
than
fiery hot.
that's a
Get
fire
on
hot
that.
lead. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, you better get that call returned because if you wait 5 hours, guess what they already did? They did a quick Google search, best buyer agent in my area. Jesse's name pops up. They call Jesse. Jesse calls you. Hey, I want to go see this house, or I got a buyer who wants to come see your house. Her name's Susie McKinnon. And you're like, Susie McKinnon? That's who called me earlier. You missed it, right? You missed the boat. She's coming with Jesse. Nothing you can do about it. Literally nothing. So speed to lead, speed to lead. Well, I don't know, there's sometimes. But get on the lead quickly. So if you, for instance, launch a Facebook lead campaign when you do an open house, be prepared to, as quickly as possible, when the lead comes in, hit the go button and call. Don't worry about have some kind of loose script, know why they're calling you, have it associated with an open house or whatever the ad was so that you know why they clicked the link and why the lead came in. But be like, oh, don't sit and sweat about like, what am I gonna say? And oh my gosh, I'm in a room full of some other people, like just make the call, make it as quick as you can, or have somebody else that you can send it to. So I'm busy all day, like in meetings from 8 to 8 p.m. kind of thing. So I might have,
Question where I was. Well, sorry.
what's
Keep
that?
My Google business, I want to be, if they're gonna Google me in my area, I better be on the number one. You do have to search North Ogden Keller Williams, but guess who's the #1 person that pops up
Is that
in
you?
North Ogden? That's me. You bet that's me.
So
Sorry.
set yourself up for success in that. And again, I resistance leverage for a long time because I want the whole thing, right? But then I realized a lot of stuff slipped through the cracks that I could have got 70% of something or 30% of something, whatever the deal might have been. So if you're like me and you're busy and you're working some other gig or you've got like things going on and you set up a lead campaign that's going to bring in a lot of stuff, call Jesse and say, listen, Jesse, I'm going to run this campaign, it's $350. I'm expecting 30 leads a day. If I can't get to a lead, but forward it to you, will you take care of them and we'll do a little split, right? Would you do that?
Absolutely.
She absolutely would. So that way the lead can happen, right? You can, I know what y'all doing at your meetings. You're not listening to nothing. You forwarded leads to Jesse or to somebody else, right? Because who in here works another job or is like busy with something else? You guys are, you three are, you, the rest of you are pretty much dedicated full-time able. So perfect. So you guys are in a different position, right? So set it up for success if you're going to invest in that kind of a lead opportunity that you can get to it quick because it's wasted money if you don't get to it.
Or I would argue Twilio is really handy.
What is?
Twilio, the
Twilio,
text
yeah.
message, yeah, so you can you can have it set up that as soon as it hits as soon as a Facebook lead hits your database,
That's right.
if you have certain tags, it'll trigger a smart plan for outreach. So I have one that sends them a text message right away. Hey, Jesse and Kaylee will get to you. We'll get to you as soon as possible. I can't remember what it says, but that's the gist of it. Expect a call from one of them shortly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have not set that up. I knew it existed, but I haven't set it up yet. So again, simplicity, right? You've already set it up. So when you execute, it just happens, it goes. And you know, like, okay, now I've got this in the queue and I need to reach out, so.
Yeah.
So get valid and complete contact information, save your plan, and create an opportunity, so. This part's hard. Again, the Facebook campaigns that you run through Command typically have validated phone number, name, and email. Sometimes it doesn't work, but there's plenty of other pay-per-click ads that are gonna have kind of garbage info, garbage things that come in. But do everything you can to get that set up, and then when it says create an opportunity, I think, in my opinion, I wanna know that this lead really is gonna exist in my opportunity category, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna put these people on a campaign until they basically say, yes, I'm in X, Y, or Z. It's, you get your opportunities.
So cool.
So determine their motivation to buy so you can speak to it, so. I apologize, what was your name again?
Caitlin.
Caitlin, that's right, so Caitlin and I were in Ignite last week together, has that been that long? And so you can attest to probably what I might say here, and the way I find out people's motivation isn't, Caitlin, why is it you wanna move? Why is it you wanna sell? I like, rarely do I ever say that, right? I'm gonna have a conversation like, just a more genuine, casual back and forth conversation about Caitlin and her life, and well, where do you work? And are you married? You got kids? And cool, what do you guys like to do for fun? And and through those general conversations, like a forward script kind of conversation, and just getting to know her, I'm gonna find out when she says, yeah, well, I'm not speaking for you. So like any buyer that I'm talking to or seller, right? They may say, oh yeah, my husband just got deployment orders, so it looks like we're gonna be leaving the country, and this is why, and yada, yada, yada. So now I have a little understanding of their motivation, right? Or my neighbor sucks so bad. His Camaro's been on blocks in the driveway for 3 months. He has these late night parties till 4 a.m. Doesn't keep his lawn up. And my neighbor, right? You'll find out through these genuine conversations, weird little things that will help you understand their motivation. And so, can you ask directly? 100%. But will you have a deeper, better understanding if you have a genuine relationship-based conversation? I think so. Does that make sense? Anybody have questions on motivation, discovering it, or an approach that you use to discover motivation? And sometimes you do have to
kind of
ask.
fill it out. Yeah, I'm like, I just fill it out forward. I usually, if I reach out to somebody, I saw you're interested in this house. What made you click on the link?
Yeah.
Usually they're like, oh, I loved that it was in this area. Oh, great. Are you already in that area? Get more information.
That's awesome. And so in that same conversation, same vein, like if you know a little bit about this buyer, you've had this genuine relationship conversation, you're gonna say, you could say something like, oh, I bet this place is perfect for you because blah, blah, blah. It's close to the freeway. It's only 10 minutes from your work. That would be really cool for you to live there. I totally get it.
People get hung up on interesting things too. So like the more information you gather, the better you can, like if they're looking for a house, the more details you have about what is inspiring them moving forward. Oh, I want a big bathtub. You find them the right house with big bathtub. There may be other things wrong with it. You find them the right key things. The other things will go by the wayside.
And even if they don't buy that house, they go, Jesse was keen enough listening. I think of the Ken Garf ads, as dumb as they are, right?
Yeah, those are
They're
good,
always
man.
listening. They're listening to what you want. Be that ad, right? Like use that mantra in your conversations. Listen for the things that make sense. I use this example a bit. It's like, what do you guys like to do for fun? And they say, oh, we love to go RVing. We have a big motorhome and a
Side by side.
side by side, right?
Mhm.
Well, what am I gonna think when I see a home that I know is kind of in their price range, it's got an RV pad or a big RV garage? I'm gonna think I should send it to Jessie for consideration because that hits an emotion point that I know, right? Her motivation might be increased to buy that house because it has something that really adds value to her world and helping her with something that I listen to and I care about now, like, right? I wasn't just looking at dollar signs of 3% commission on a $900,000 house. I'm saying, how can I help Jessie's world be a little bit better by having the perfect house in play? So, set an appointment, time and date for as soon as possible. So again, once you've kind of worked through this stuff, you've contacted them, you know you have good information, you understand their motivation a bit, set an appointment, get the time and date for as soon as possible. Now these closing there's a bajillion different ways to close. Again, the alternative close, Angie, can you meet on Thursday at 2 or Friday at 4? Which one works best for you? The alternative, either one, you don't have to answer, right? But I give you like 2 points, so like 2 options. If we could meet on, Thursday at this time, would that work for you and whoever else? You can, there's a million different close techniques, but you really want to just ask for it. And I think the best thing is to give some definitive. Because if you say, hey, well, why don't you just, go look at your calendar and call me back, let me know when it might work for you and we'll talk later. Guess when Angie's gonna call me back?
Never.
Probably never, right? She might call Jesse because Jesse's so high on the Google rank list and so Troy was a loser, couldn't
Only
close the
in my
appointment, so now I'm gonna, right? So set the appointment, get in the door. They may be reluctant to meet for some type of reason and you have to start. This is where your like objections or overcoming objections courses and some role playing will really help. But you won't ever have those objections if you don't just ask for it. And most of the time, they're just gonna say, yeah, Friday works actually. Yeah. So 7, close to appointment tactics, show the benefits, the take back close, negative, positive close, give them what they're looking for, trial close, something close, and tie down. I should have studied all these a little bit better, but show the benefits would be, wouldn't it be great if we could meet this Thursday and really fine tune what buying this house would mean for you guys and what that process would look like. I'm showing the benefits of us meeting, right? Take back close, you know what that one is?
Where you offer something and then you take it back, like, I feel like, for instance. Yeah, I'd love to work with you, let's sit down and meet and see if we're a good fit. I am very picky about what kind of, you don't want to say it like that, but I'm picky about what kind of people I work with, and let's make sure that you fit my framework.
A little hard to get, that's what I found.
Yeah.
The take back close is the hard to get, that's what yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. The negative, positive close, similar to showing the benefits, right? Like, is that, wouldn't it be great if we could meet? I could walk you through a little bit, what this process looks like, and we could talk about scheduling showing for the house. If we weren't to meet, gosh, I just sure hate to see that house go under contract with another buyer if it was the perfect house. So again, Thursday at 2 or Friday at 4. That works.
Another way that I think, I'm sure it's similar to this, but I don't know if this is for you. I don't know if this is for you.
I don't know if this is for you. Yeah, let
Yeah.
them decide. Right? How important is that? I've got a 13-year-old son, and it's the hardest, man. I have to make everything has to be his decision. And so I have to use all this psychology to get him to decide that I'll eat the damn broccoli. I'm like, just shove it. Please. Or to go on the bike ride or whatever it is, right? Getting someone else to decide what it is. So, but that I think that's a good approach to that. I'm not sure this is for you. And then they'll be like, whatever. I'm a big enough kid to buy a house. Come on. Give them what they're looking for, right? So I think that was relatively straightforward as well. Like, finding out what they're looking for when they want to meet.
I think of that one as like, I have this really great buyer's guide that I'd love to share with you. Let's meet and we'll go over it. I got information that you want. I will give it to you at the.
They're looking for guidance. They're looking for information. They're looking for a CMA on their house or whatever. So just give them what they're looking for, but make it happen at the meeting, not on the phone. Never deliver a CMA by email if you can avoid it, unless they're like out of the state or country, and never do a buyer presentation via email, whatever. Do it at the appointment. You're going to be way more successful doing it face to face. And we're good on time.
Yeah.
6:09, we're doing good on time, I think. I don't know how far we are. So, the trial close.
I'm not sure exactly what that one is. When I think trial close, it's like, let's try, I don't know, try working together. What I always think, but yeah.
And then the assumptive close is again like, great, well, I can't wait to meet, and I'm assuming that, Friday is still works for you, so.
So trial close is like, we find the perfect house for you. And Matt meets all of your expectations. And we get everything lined up. Would it make sense?
Is there any reason
Is there
you
any reason?
wouldn't move forward? Okay, so I'm gonna switch gears real quick, because the trial close is the one that I was blown away with. This friend of mine is an agent, And he started doing what he called the 30-second listing presentation. And it's a little deceiving because he would do the whole thing in advance. He would prepare himself really, really well, but his conversation with the buyer or the seller in advance would be the trial close. And it would be basically like, um, hey, Joe and Mary, we're gonna meet, Friday at 2. As I come over, I just want to make sure, I just want to talk, make sure we're all on the same page. And, based on what we talked about, if I could show you about that your home is worth between 450 and 475, do you see any reason that you wouldn't go ahead and list with me today? Oh, no, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay, great. I'll see you Friday at 2. Bam, Friday at 2. He says, look, your house is worth 465. We're going to sign here, sign here, sign here. Sign in the yard, out he goes. Like legit. And I was like, there's no way he actually did that. He really was like, I mean, he was a little more loving. So, but like he would come in, cut out all the BS, just get right to the point on the trial close. If I can, right, if this is all what happens, is there any reason that you wouldn't? That we go for it. So, I feel so unprepared on the 7 close to.
We should have Dalton in here. Dalton's so good at all this.
That's all.
Yes,
Dalton's
I
a stud.
think tie downs are that you get him to say yes. If I remember it correctly. You say yes. Oh, okay, so if I could find you a house that had this, that would work for you, right? Say yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. If we could get it this price range, that would work for you guys as well. Sounds like that would work for you guys as well, correct? Yes. Okay, great. Let's meet this time, this day. Yes.
And that can go a long ways in the rest of the transaction, right? Now that we've met this house, remember when you said this is the perfect one? Great. So learn all these. You don't have to learn them overnight. Not all these are going to be ones that work for everybody, right? I don't use some of these for sure. Not because I don't think they work. It's just
That's not
part of my dialogue, my personality style. So, this is one window or door to a whole place to explore, like what works for you to deliver and have dialogue to get the closing, or to get the appointment set.
I think starting out assumptive close is the best way to go. Just assume that they want to meet with you. Just assume.
Yeah.
We're gonna meet.
Yeah, 100%.
This is the time, right?
Mindset goes a long ways in the conversations and in the closing techniques for sure. When you come with hesitancy and you open that door for them to say no or to offer a different time or date, oftentimes it's much harder to recover from that than when you come with confidence and assuming that we're going to do business. Not only going to have the appointment, we're going to do business. Right when you said that. But you're going to get objections to the appointment. So ask some more questions, right? Like, okay, well, if that day doesn't work, tell me why is that? Why doesn't that time work for you? Right? Is it you, or is it your spouse, or your partner, or are you out of town? Like whatever. I ask questions, find out some more details, and that's going to give you information on. Oh, well, now I can just offer an alternative date. Oh, we're not ready to buy yet. We're not ready to sell yet. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. Why do you feel like you're not quite ready to buy? Or you've had these relationship conversations and you might know, well, geez, they did just have a baby, and who wants to buy a house when you have a young baby at home? That's a chaotic thing to do. But in your head, you can start thinking through, like, who is this person? And they're telling them they're not ready for this reason. And is that the real reason? Or is it an excuse? Or is it, and if it's the real reason, how can I help them overcome that obstacle to find a real path forward? Because I know that one of my A buyers already, we're having this conversation at a level that makes sense to engage them with an appointment. So empathize, definitely be empathetic. Don't, you gotta empathize. And my whole world is trying to be empathetic as much as possible because everybody's going through something different at different times of life. So empathize with where they're at and what they're doing. Well, that makes total sense. I totally understand what you're saying. Having that raise come later on will be a great addition. So I can get that maybe today you don't afford it, but let me show you why and how we can help you still through this in your current situation. So in every piece of empathy will come with a different solution or a different path in the conversation. But until you ask the question and then understand what you need to empathize, ask those questions. And then again, identify the real issue. Oftentimes it's not what they're telling you. They don't even sometimes know. They're maybe come up with excuses. Right? I'll go into RC Willie, like legit ready to buy bed, couch, and when the salesman talks to me, I'm like, I'm not ready to buy. I'm not buying anything today. I just, if he was asking me why, I might just say, I'm just looking around. There's a real issue, right? It's a real reason why I'm hesitant to talk to them. If you ask them the right questions and empathetic with where I was that day, we probably get there.
We have a situation similar to that right now, where we've got clients that are gonna need to be in a short sale situation now, and we didn't ask enough questions. Like, so it's tough when you get farther along and you didn't ask enough questions too, so like, they said they wanted to move, they're moving out of state, they've got a job already lined up, ready to go, get the heck out. And then I get a call from the lock company that works with Utah Housing that's like, hey, is there any way they're gonna pay sooner? Cause I don't wanna drive all the way out there to put a lock on this house if they're gonna pay. I'm like, what?
Like, what do you mean by that?
I'm like, are you scamming me? What company are you with? What's your name again? I'm like, getting all, oh, you're trying to scam us? And then I like come to find out that, yeah. So like the real issue, the real reason they wanted to move is they couldn't afford their house anymore. We didn't ask enough questions. We didn't drill down. So drilling down all the way is, it's hard.
And some of the
but-
questions you ask will be hard, right? And some of the conversations will be easy, right?
Yeah.
I want to sell because I got a big raise and I got a fat check sitting here and I want to upgrade. I want the house with the pool in the RV garage. Sometimes, so look, we found hard times. Wife lost her job, we got some debt that accrued, had a medical emergency, like things are piling up and I gotta sell the house and I owe more than I.
Yeah,
it's
that one
worth
was
everything
rough
else,
because they were just like, oh, we're just ready to, we just want to sell, we want to move out to the country. Had no idea.
Believe it or not, I have a short sale listing right now, in this market, which is interesting. It's one of the only ones out there. But it's because the husband and wife both passed away within a pretty short amount of time, but they racked up a ton of Medicaid bills attached to secondary property. And it was only after the son did a whole remodel, $90,000 remodel on the house, they discovered there's a $550,000 lien on the house. It's only
No,
$400,000.
No.
That's secondary to the first mortgage. So, but asking the right questions got me the information I need. We're working through the process. We're gonna solve this. We have a solution, right? We have things moving forward, but it was only by asking questions, empathizing with their situation, finding out like, how do we, we identified the real issue. Now what's the solution? I urged an agreement to it's listed as is, plain and simple with the third party approval. Blah, blah, blah. So working through those, again, we'll get you much more information, and you'll be much more successful in. Not one.
Quite crew today.
Is it because I talk too fast or too loud? It's okay. Well, we'll have so many ahas at the end. So preparing for the buyer consultation, let's talk about that. Buyer consultation prep checklist, confirm the appointment date and time. Do that a couple of times.
Yes.
Confirm the appointment location, ensure all decision makers attend. I'll get on this in a minute. Complete your buyer guide, prepare the meeting space and do the lead sheet. So, the first two, just like that's one-on-one, right? Like what time we're meeting and the date and then where we. And ensure all the decision makers attend.
Thank
So,
you for the concept.
yeah, Tyson, man, good to meet you. Take care. So this is super important and you can verify a few ways. One is like, yeah, Jesse, it looks like you guys are getting ready to buy a house. Like, can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like? And are you the sole decision maker? Are you gonna be on the loan alone or is your partner gonna be with that? Like, tell me. So you just ask outright.
I say, who else gonna be on the line?
Yeah, who's all gonna be on the loan? Right, well, it's just gonna be me. So that's it. Okay, well, is there anyone else who might be impacting the decision? Oh, yeah, my partner actually is gonna also probably help me decide which house to buy, right? Or, well, my dad's giving me a big down payment, right? So again, these are relationship conversations that you're gonna be having as you come up to this appointment. You may not have all of them along the way, but if dad's gonna give them a 10% down payment because that's the only way they can afford the house, do you think dad might have some influence on the decision? He might. He might not need to be on the agency agreement, but he might be a decision maker. So you want to know and really explore, like, what is the decision maker in this particular scenario? Most often it's cut and dry. It's who's on the loan, it's usually husband, wife, or two partners, or a solo person. It's pretty standard, but I've also seen it where I've had deals where like husband and wife, a cousin, and a son-in-law are all on the loan and all decision makers on the same purchase. Right, so do you think I'm gonna be very effective if I got husband and wife in one appointment, I got the uncle in another and the son-in-law in another? Like, no, I'm gonna get three completely different like scenarios, some of them might be in line, but really I want to have them all in the same. And so you do want to know all the decision makers are at the appointment and available, and you've got the full attention possible. If one of them can't make it and you can't reschedule, like, cancel the appointment or have it, I'd probably say just still have it. But like push to get that other decision maker on board with the decision, with your presentation, with your consultation. And make that happen. So complete your bio guide. So, I actually been using the KW, this simple one, because it's easy. I used to have like a 37-page one, it was so rad. And then I realized it's boring everybody out of their mind. All they really want to know is like, well, what house can I afford? Where do those houses exist? And when we start shopping. So I've condensed it to a very simplified version. So again, and honestly too, I sometimes we use a slightly different buyer guide depending on client. I don't necessarily have multiple built, but some of my younger clients, I may cater the guide just a little bit. So prepare the meeting space. So that assumes you're going to meet them here. If you can, I do think it's best to meet them in the office, right? To get a buyer to come here, or to some office, but here, this is a great office. You might as well book a conference room, meet them at the door. They come in, it's fancy schmancy, it's nice. They've got, you got Bradley up there, Blue Eye Bradley. I'm gonna call him Blue Eye Bradley. Right, you got, you're a pro and you're a professional in this space, so meet them here if you can and have this consultation at the table there. They're gonna feel very much like they just went to their attorney's office or their accountant. They're gonna leave with a lot more confidence in your ability to transact. So, but you also might meet at their house, you compare their house. If they're, selling one and moving another, it all depends. But if you can encourage them to be here, encourage them only to have the decision makers and not all the other riffraff that could potentially come with it, right? It's nice to go have focused attention on the decision makers so you can get very streamlined, easy answers and have confidence in those answers. And then, of course, we'll read your lead sheet. So you're going to ideally have a lead sheet. This kind of assumes they came in off of a lead scenario, an open house, or maybe a Facebook lead or something else. And so you've got some data and then some additional key points there. If it comes from your SOI, you may not have an actual lead sheet built, but you should be building one of your own, right? You kind of want to get an idea, like frame this person the best you can so that you know what you're walking into, what your presentation look like. You can cater that to that presentation. Make sense? Ish? Questions? Tons? Says tons. What, name one, let's hear one.
So I recently had somebody from my SOI that I followed up with that just got married, so I let her get through the wedding. And then I followed up a couple times and got her to where she was like, yeah, me and my husband want to be ready, so let's meet. But I haven't talked to her about, and I was like, let's do it. Pick a time this week. Let's get together and get started. It's really smart to want to be prepared ahead of time. And I want to help you, whatever. So, but I do I have to go back now? I'm trying to think, how do I go back now and go, hey, that appointment that we're setting, let's make sure that all of, your decision makers are there. I just feel like I've missed some points that
You're
I'm
totally
like, well,
fine.
now I have to, how do I recover from that without she knows I'm a brand new.
So I
So,
get back to this stuff here, right?
Yeah.
Hey, it was so great talking to you today. I can't wait to meet you on X date and time. We're gonna meet at your house or my office, right? Where did you invite them to? Did you invite them here?
I haven't, because again, I'm like, I don't know, what's the best? I don't know. And so I kind of,
I think
I'm
you should
still
try.
navigating that as I go.
Easy peasy. So pick it up right here, right?
Yeah,
So just say, hey, it was so great chatting with you today. I'm so glad we decided to meet. My office is available on X days, whatever
Okay.
your schedule is.
okay.
It's out here in Layton at, what is it?
Woodland Drive.
1972
Yeah.
Woodland Drive. Is that-
Woodland Drive, yeah,
Whatever
something like that.
Woodland Drive.
I have to look it up every time. I don't know.
Give them the address, give them the details, make sure you understand, where you're gonna meet them, invite them here. And then you can just ask, say, like, is it a husband, wife, or
Yeah, they just,
you can just ask them, right? Like say, I'm super excited to help you through the buying process. I'm curious though, besides you two, is there anyone else who might be helping make this decision?
okay.
Great. Dad's giving you a down payment and you think he's gonna is he gonna kind of be able to override the decision or do you gotta get to, okay, great. Well, if dad's gonna have some impact, I'd love to have dad here as well,
Okay.
right? Dad's not giving them down payments, just two of them, just bring them in, totally fine. if the husband says, or whoever you're talking to says, my wife or my spouse just said, "Just buy whatever, tell me when we're moving and I don't care." Roll with it, but with a little bit of reluctance, knowing that there's gonna be some influence there.
Right.
But just ask, right? Like, I think it's totally fine to ask, and then when they get, have your buyer get prep and prepare the meeting space, have them ready for them. And then rock and roll. But yeah,
So what
really
does
just
that
like
entail
back this.
preparing the meeting space, like just picking a spot or?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
make sure it's clean, you've got a book, you've got a room booked, you've got your buyer guide printed and or a digital version, but if you decide you're gonna use a digital version. Be prepared to have your buyer agency agreement there,
Okay.
like have all that stuff prepared.
I'm worried, I gotta tell you, because that's really like hands-on, up close, in your face, which I'm not scared to do, but I've been hiding all of my inexpertise at a distance. Like, I know I'll get right back to you about that, and then running to Alice and going, okay, now what do I do?
So here's
Now what
what,
should I do?
here's
And
what I'll tell you.
once now I'm getting to that point where it's gonna be like, okay, well, you're about to witness just how many gaps I have.
No,
Thanks.
role play, you role play your presentation, and that's the key to that, role play your presentation and know your contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, one of the things, I used to be so nervous about presenting contracts,
Uh-huh.
and I went to Blaine does a really great buyer's presentation contract class.
Okay.
And Blaine is, do you guys know Blaine? Okay, Blaine's giant and loud. So it's just me sitting here, showing up to the class, he's like charging back and forth and you're just like, okay, but it will forever stick to me. The way he goes through his contract is he doesn't go line for line about each section. He knows what each section means and how it applies to the transaction and the buyer. And he just says, this section means that you haven't signed an agreement with anybody else and that you're gonna exclusively sign this agreement with me. This section means that you're not a foreign person. This section means this and this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just basically runs it out line by line in simple terms that they're gonna understand, but shows that he knows what the contract means. But then you don't get tied up in all the wishy-washiness of like, not wishy-washiness, but the
No.
legalese of the
Right.
contract.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know about you, but that would make me anxious, is all the contract stuff. So just breaking it down into simple terms, this is what this section means, this is what this section means. So that they feel informed and you look like an expert, but it's simple.
I can get on board with that. The problem is I just don't know the contracts that well myself, and so I feel like, I can fake it so far, but how far do I fake it where they like pick up and go?
So I'd say this, too, on the buyer consultation, there's a couple thoughts that you're gonna wanna know. And you should know them really well, no matter what.
Okay.
So, in the first course, it's your buyer agency.
Right.
You wanna know that pretty well, like just understand it, but be able to summate it, or what do you call, like Blaine was talking about, like this section, here's what this means, and so just read through it
Right.
a handful of times yourself, you'll
Right.
understand, take a step back. Cover up the paragraph, look at the title and say, okay, so what's the elevator pitch for this paragraph? What
Okay.
does that look like?
Yeah, okay.
And so understand how to do that so that you're not going to read line for line.
Right.
The other one is your buyer due diligence checklist. You should definitely have that. And
That's
then-
that one's so easy. It's like, I'm an expert in the negotiation and marketing of real estate. And I'm not an expert in all of these other conditions of that house. That's why you hire a home inspector. That's why we hire title people. That's why if you're concerned about the tax situation, we hire a tax professional. So do
Gotcha.
this,
And
and
don't worry, I've
I,
got a team of people that I can introduce you to if you don't have somebody who's an expert
Yeah.
in one of these areas.
exactly,
You
this
make
is
your
just
job.
letting you know that I don't know
Right,
how to,
right,
I don't know how to throw a roof on a house.
Right.
I make that joke,
Right.
and then people laugh and they're like, yeah, we get it.
Okay.
Easy, like they, you
Yeah.
just get your little cadence of the way you say
I
things.
explained estimates, contracts, and medical procedures to clients for 15 years. And it
You
just
did
was like,
just fine.
it's just like that,
You
because
didn't know
I
it,
just
yeah.
knew it inside and out, and now I'm like, I don't even know the
Well-
answers to these questions.
Well, that's where role play will come in, and honestly, I come to find that a lot of buyers don't have a lot of questions that you can't answer. I mean, they could answer themselves with a quick Google. I mean, they're coming to you because you're the expert, and so like the questions they have aren't surprising.
Yeah,
I've never had a surprising buyer question.
the questions that you have that'll be surprising will be not surprising at all.
Yeah.
They're so excited, they just want to start looking for houses. So your guidance really comes in here, and the next value piece is if if you don't mind. So in your consultation,
Mhm.
know that you're gonna wanna go through the needs analysis, like what do they need? They've got
Mhm.
3 kids and one on the way, and they've got whatever, I can understand.
They need a
who you are.
helicopter landing pad.
Yeah, they need a helicopter landing pad, they need
Mm-hmm.
Post Malone's house, or you guys, are you familiar with Young Boy, do you know who Young Boy is? The rapper. Look him up, he lived in the valley and he's got the craziest story ever, anyway, 12 bedroom, 14 bath house. And
Oh, that's
Anyway,
the one that
it's-
abandoned halfway through on the side of the lake?
no, that one was supposedly Post Malone's this
I
one.
would say, I think that was supposed to.
Yeah, Young Boy, anyway, he got
Yeah.
arrested in this crazy story. He was ripping Lamborghinis up and down Middle Fork.
Oh,
Anyway, he's got a house, but so under, have a needs analysis available, pre-qualification or pre-approval, understand what that looks like. Neighborhood information, so you can complete a home search. You're gonna help them make an offer, you help them negotiate to buy, vendor coordination, pre-close prep, closing, post-closing. So these are all the pieces that you're gonna perform. So your initial consultation is really gathering this needs analysis.
Okay.
Right, and then that needs analysis will likely lead to a pre-qualification introduction, so you need to make sure you have a lender or two in your pocket that.
Okay.
Not literally, but figuratively.
Right.
Connect them with someone if they don't already have someone, so they can get the pre-qualification, pre-approval. And if you walk them through all this, this in your consultation, that this is what I'm gonna help you with. When you get to the contract component to have them sign an agency agreement with you, they're already gonna be like so excited to be talking to the lender to get to the neighborhood that they want to start the home search. So they can make an offer, right? Once they understand this process, that's what's gonna happen. So, holy crap.
Wow.
So this is massive and I don't like
Oh, yeah.
this.
Oh, this is
too much.
this is what I used to do.
Yeah.
Hour and a half later, and she's just like, dude, leave my house. Or like, so, yeah, you can have a more in-depth,
It's
buyer
not
guide
the-
like
it's not
this if
the-
you want for that super detailed analysis person, but you definitely don't need all this.
So I'll share what I've just recently morphed my process into. So we have a very Etsy, again, how Allison was talking about Etsy, it's a very in-depth buyer consultation and buyer guide and seller guide. And it's like, it's not 30 pages long, but I think it's like 17, I think, 18, maybe, but it's got all this stuff in it. I refer back to it multiple times. Hey, if you want more information on grants, there is a page on in the buyer thing that I just emailed you a few minutes before our consultation that can go over the different types of grants that may be available to you. Your lender will also know those grants. So I'm not the expert on the grants, but I have that information for them. Like accessing the KW app, I'll be honest, I don't use the KW app. I like hot sheets, well, not hot sheets, listing alerts off of
There's-
the MLS. There's different ways to do it.
Yeah.
But, so I prep them, say, okay, we're getting ready for our home search. Like, I don't go through how to access the KW app process or the home search process. I say, okay, I'm gonna set you up on this thing with the MLS. I'm gonna send you a connection email, make sure you accept that connection, and then you'll get all of those homes that register to pop up on the market. You'll be the first to know. Like, I prep them for some of these things, and then you can reference back to it in the guide.
Is this just the general buyer guide in KW that Allison has in her Google Drive? Do you guys know? Cause I have
I'm
that.
not sure about Allison's, hers is probably a modified version of this.
Okay.
And I kind of do, just so you know, I do a little bit like what Jesse has. I still have it is like 37 pages.
Right.
So big.
Some of it's just graphics and whatnot, so I have it as reference for certain components, but my actual consultation is essentially a one. I should have brought it. And it's really what I talk about, it's more or less a summary of this.
Okay.
I wanna show them, look, I'm gonna help understand, I wanna understand what you need. Then I'm gonna help you get pre-qualified, in which neighborhood we wanna look in. Then we'll start looking for homes and help you make an offer. We're gonna negotiate to buy it. I'm gonna help you with vendors. We're gonna prepare to closing the market. That's what I want them excited about. They're excited about this part. Much less about the financial worksheet, the check, credit check request. Does this need to be done? For sure, right? But it doesn't have to be you who does it. That's a pre-qual approval piece. So that's where I'm gonna make those deductions. So, so understand that inside of Command, you can build your own buyer
Yeah.
guide. That's where this lives, is inside of Command. And you can cut in whole sheets and change the text and do basically whatever you want, customize it to you. So,
In design, it's under buyer guide, by buyer and seller guide.
and there's access to tons of different ones as well, so. you can-
Okay.
So again, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. I would way rather not. I would rather have you on the phone with the 37 people in your contact list you're trying to build to that next level up to include your home, your
So like,
health, your
database.
database, right? Then spend 3 hours trying to build out a buyer guide.
Okay.
Because to be honest, could you show up to a buyer guide with absolutely nothing and a notepad and just ask? You for sure could. Have I done it 100 times? Maybe not 100, but plenty of times
Yeah.
that I've landed a buyer and took them out on houses to show them. So getting them in the door is higher priority than spending time on this. Can't sleep when it's 11 o'clock at night and you want to figure this out. But otherwise, I would rip off and duplicate something that someone else has. So don't spend too much time thinking that this is what's going to get the appointment. What's going to get the appointment is Bridget calling on the phone and saying, so great seeing you at the store the other day. I can't wait to meet with you at my office on Friday at 2 o'clock. My address is this. Let's meet there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Okay.
have one, make sure you know it's customizable, have access to it, be able to digitally deliver it, print it and physically deliver it.
Okay.
But again, I wouldn't lose too much sleep over having this perfect
Okay.
before you start making those calls. So, the table of contents of this is the dream home, their preferences, neighborhood, buying 101 at your service, my promise and glossary. So you can build this out kind of however. I'm gonna scan through this because it's 6:30 and you guys are sick of me, you know. But that's what it is. So, but these are good things to have, right? Bit the wish list, right? Who will be living in the home? You know, list everybody that's gonna be living there. What are the non-negotiables for your home? Be mindful that someone might tell you non-negotiable, it's completely negotiable. I
Yeah.
have to have a 3-car garage, there's no way around it, and they end up finding 2. Just know, like,
Okay.
Everything's negotiable.
everything's negotiable. But pay attention, right? If they say it's non-negotiable is my 3-car garage with the oversized jetted top. If you find that, that's the piece, but all those other factors are still something to consider, make sure you present them and create in a way that makes sense.
So I find this gonna sound really weird, but in Utah, I feel like neighborhood isn't that big of a deal. That's one of those
It
things,
is.
Candy, it is for you, or, cause you're mainly up the valley, huh?
No, I live in River.
Oh.
But yeah, some people, I have a client that's moving to Texas and we've been looking from like everywhere, like basically
Yeah.
like North Davis County, all through Weaver County. They were like, I don't care. as long as it's their mother wants it." So, like,
About that space.
I don't even know what that means, but that's fine. So, but this stuff's good information and healthy to have. I don't know that I spend a ton of time like going over this line by line for as much as
Yeah.
educating them broadly, right? Same with the contracts. I want to know in my words and in my conversation, how can I guide them through the process of what the next steps look like? So getting pre-approved, or, you know, partnering with me as an agent, getting pre-approved for a loan, finding their next home. We're gonna make and negotiate the terms of the offer. We just want their contract, and these are the things that we're gonna do. Before you close. These are things honestly, as I like to solidify the deal in the office, get the agency agreement, get the home search started. I don't want them to commit to me and get that exciting part going. While I'm on showings, while I'm in between, if we're driving together, for instance, I might talk a little bit more about some of these things and continue to educate them along the way. And especially as I come into the negotiation component, hey, the next steps are. Here's what you need.
Okay.
So again, you can build this stuff out, so you've got, you know, number of years in business, sort of, you guys are newer, so, you know, those numbers might.
So maybe take that page out.
So maybe take the page out, but you could also use your office numbers, right? So you can put in there, you know, you just can modify this, and if you're working with Allison, she's great at that, and the office has a bunch of other templates, and if you're not in Allison's team, there's ways to get that
Nice.
where. So I hate to skip over stuff. But man, told you I wouldn't maybe sign it or get it all the way done.
I'm good to keep going, honestly,
Exactly.
qualifying buyers and sellers is or buyers is short,
Shorter, okay,
yeah,
so we're gonna move into the conducting the buyer consultation.
this is my journal.
This is her jam. She's good at it. So I'm much more loose and just again, I'm very much relationship based. I feel like if I build that relationship, where we're gonna meet in the office, I come in completely assumptive that we're gonna sign and bring the file to the
Okay.
house. That's just, I come in with that mentally and I typically want my appointment set that same way. Do I do everyone that way now? They told no sometimes.
I don't believe it.
It's mostly my wife. But the reality is, this part is what, like, Rizzo, I say, right, like, focus on this, and this will just have to happen, right?
This
get
took
this
a long
appointment,
time to learn,
And
I'll
then
be
you're gonna be
honest.
pinched where you're like, oh, shit, I got like, don't work it this way, work it from here.
Mm-hmm.
Qualify your buyers, like package up your SOI in your database to know who you're gonna call, who's gonna be most likely to set an appointment with you. Set that appointment, and then this will force you to then prepare a quick buyer consultation. that-
You'll be 11, like you said, 11 o'clock at night, you're like, I have that tomorrow, I have to get this down. You get something together and usually it's pretty good.
So,
Can I
Um,
share something? I had my first buyer appointment a couple weeks ago. And I didn't like the KW buyer guide, so I used Allison.
Oh, okay.
She shared it with us.
Yeah, yeah, I hear Google, that's.
Switched out our branding and, changed a few things. But I went to the consultation and never even. did it.
Really,
Like-
but did you give it to the client as
I
something
did
for them
leave
to
it
refer
with
back to?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have no idea if it was.
But you're like, I don't know what's in that.
But it just turned out being a conversation. And I got all the information I needed, but I
Honestly,
had no
yeah.
interest in
Yeah.
looking at paper.
if
I
they
put
do,
together
it's a 1 to
page.
2 page, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's, and
Yeah.
I see the attention span, it's kind of like, it's like, Instagram, right?
So would you-
Everything's 20 seconds or less in videos, otherwise.
I mean, you've already obviously developed some rapport with a person if you've got them to come in, for an appointment. And at that point, would you say that that's the time that you are really solidifying the relationship versus like explaining paperwork?
I would say both.
Both. Okay.
Because that's I'll be honest, your entire transaction kind of usually hinges off of your first consultation. Like
Right.
I would argue you need to make sure you get them the information that they need and that they understand it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because it can be very difficult transaction if they don't know what to expect and they're not on board with the steps.
Right.
So relationship building is definitely important, but I would not sacrifice getting them the information
For sure.
Okay,
in the interest of the relationship building on a whole.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And I agree, so like I said, when I go back, there was those 10 components, I know that life cycle of the buyer, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I really hone in on in my conversation with them, is, that, like, here's basically what's gonna happen, right? Like, we're gonna get
Okay.
you pre-approved, we're gonna find out what neighborhoods make most sense,
Okay.
then we're gonna start on the home search, make an offer and negotiate, I don't say it like that. But similar to my contract knowledge, I have like a way that I just bring it out, and I cater that a little bit different too to my sort of, my drivers, the disc profile.
Yes.
I'm not rated.
I can never
Analysis,
remember the
But I
things,
can
but you
understand,
get
my
their feel, yeah.
accountants wanna know the numbers, right? My engineers, they wanna know, like, what's it gonna cost, what's the price per foot, that neighborhood, what's,
Gotcha.
right, all the things, but my artistic, kind of like, more bubbly people wanna know, like, how beautiful are the views, what kind of curb appeal does it have, right? So like,
Gotcha.
I'll cater this whole conversation to the personality or personalities in the room, because you have
Okay.
one of each. And so you do have to, and that's where that relationship component comes in, but definitely not at the expense of them understanding the process.
Yeah.
If you go under contract and then you're like, okay, now you gotta order an inspection, and they're like, oh, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So you should have talked to them about the
Yeah.
fact that we're gonna help coordinate a vendor, one of which will be an inspector, one of which will be your title company.
I like to go over upfront costs, cause I hate sticker shock myself. I go over upfront costs in that's like the biggest thing I hit, timelines and upfront costs.
Upfront costs and as far as vendors that need to be used,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, yeah, like.
Yeah, that thought is been hovering over my mind too. I was just gonna ask you that. Because I think of it, and when I was presented, when I bought a house, I didn't want to pay anything more because I'm giving this expense.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of
therefore,
like insult to injury. You already have a whole bunch of money that you're putting down for the down payment. I don't want
Right.
somebody to be blindsided by, oh, I have to pay $600 for an appraisal. Oh, I have to pay
right,
$500
therefore
for an
I'm going
inspection.
to Feel timid in presenting.
Nah,
like that.
just say it's easy. There are some upfront costs. Here's what they look like. Here's what occasionally your appraisal can be rolled into your closing costs at the end. You know, I just kind of give them the framework. Like, and then the inspection, there's some inspectors that are a little bit more expensive. If they start balking at that, I say, okay, there's some that are more expensive, there's some that are less expensive. We can shop around and find you an
Just
a good
don't have
inspector.
them use
No, do not have them use who they know as an inspector.
Sorry.
It's-
So I gotta go, but again, I thank you so much for letting me depart. Really,
Thanks for your time. Yeah.
yeah, thanks for having me. I hope I get to come back and soon. We might have a few more, so I'm not on the calendar again, so.
Yeah, we're 13 to, yeah, 13, 14, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go over conducting the buyer consultation. So we've talked about preparing it and we'll go over that a little bit more. I am knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they buy a home. What is this called? An affirmation. Heck yeah. So that's something that you should say. We're coming from a place of contribution. So everybody heard that. There's a lot of things that in the real estate industry you come to hear and then you like the more you hear it, the more you're like, that's why. Like here's the key word. Like this is, and it helps you along the way. Affirmations, those affirmations will be amazing for you. Okay, so welcome the buyer. So like your first step, welcome the buyer. Does everybody have a good handshake? I know that sounds really corny, but that is like the biggest thing for me is I want to have a good firm handshake. So I'm just gonna shake my hand. They're not gonna be caught with a wet dead fish in their hand, okay? You know what I mean?
You
So
wanna wash your hands.
yes, wash your hands. So welcome the buyer. Well, I'm terrible at this, I'll be honest. I'm good at the handshake, but I'm terrible at all the rest of the warm fuzzy stuff. So that's something I'm coming to learn. So I mean, offer them a drink, offer them something interesting, you know what I mean? Just be very welcoming to your buyer. You don't want to sit down and say, okay, here's the contract, obviously, you know. How are you guys doing today? Pretty basic stuff. I feel like everybody kind of knows, but sometimes you're just so nervous or you're ready to get into the meat and potatoes that you dive right in. I have a lot of bad habits that I need to unlearn because I jumped into the industry when the market was really crazy and Kaylee and I were just slinging contracts left and right, showing houses, like we showed 12 houses in a day and all the way from Twilla up to Tremont, you know, and it was crazy. And so I'm relearning a lot of these processes in a much better way. For instance, I love to do an online buyer's presentation. It's terrible. Like you don't get that real good face-to-face interaction. There's always interruptions, kids, dogs barking, things like that, distractions. You kind of lose that genuine touch. And also I feel like it makes you more of a professional when you bring somebody into the office in person. Like I feel like a much better professional when I bring somebody in. So that's my thing that I'm unlearning is my bad habits. But like I would start out with, how you guys doing today? You know, you get here a little bit, oh, traffic was, yeah, that I always hear that about that area, you know, stuff like that. So the buyer's needs analysis, step one. So that, like Troy went over, this is the wants and needs, negotiable stuff. We've really already talked about all of this. Okay, has anybody heard of what a love letter is? Yeah,
I've heard of that.
okay, so typically what a love letter is a letter where the person who's looking to purchase, this was common before, this is not common now. But when we were seeing 10 offers on a home, you'd have people that would write a love letter to the sellers that would be like, hey, here's why I want the house. It's perfect for us. They pull on all the heartstrings. And the problem with that is that often love letters totally violate equal housing. So you don't ever want to come close to violating equal housing opportunity. Like it says, love letter equals liability letter. So I don't know why this is in here, except that it is important. This is a weird spot to put it, but it's important. Don't ever have your seller or buyers write love letters because it can get you in a world of trouble. An example that I have that sticks very strongly in my mind, and this didn't happen to me, but this happened to my real estate teacher. I don't know, story he told. So there was a mobile home park that this person was going to purchase a home in, and the agent who was selling the homes in the park had multiple homes for sale. And this person happened to be looking at the home at the edge of the park that was right next to a river. And he's a single dad and he has a little boy. The agent said, hey, I don't know if this house is right for you just because it's so close to the river and you have your little boy. I would hate for something to happen to your son. Like, why don't we check out this other home that's a little further in the park so that you have less risk to your family? You know what I mean? That agent got sued by that person for violating equal housing opportunity because that person felt like the agent wasn't allowing him to purchase the home that he wanted based on his familial status. So there's little things to keep in mind, like when I'm writing a listing, I do not put family anywhere in the listing description. I don't ever want somebody to think that I am discriminating against them based on familial status. So that's honestly, there's many different ways to accidentally discriminate, and so you just want to don't write love letters, don't accept love letters.
What do you do if another agent sends you a love letter with an offer?
So we let them know that a love letter was sent. There's
Just let
nothing,
your
yeah,
buyer seller know.
that's something I say, hey, and just so you know, these guys did send a love letter. I'm not gonna let you read it. I don't want to open you up to issues with fair housing. I just say that. So then they know, they still know this person wants it bad enough to have written a love letter. But they're not gonna see anything that's gonna potentially violate fair housing. So,
You have to make sure that like you don't read it.
no.
Okay.
But you wanna make sure that you don't convey any details about
So do you
buyers.
just dispose of it? What do you do with it?
Well, it's usually digital. It's usually digital. Like they used to back in the day when we did a lot of paper stuff, you'd receive a paper one, but no, it's usually digital. You just leave it in your email. You don't pass that part on. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna skip over ahas because we're gonna move forward a little bit here. Okay. Close for agreement. So, wrapping up the consultation, so offer your KWF. Okay, I'll share with you guys a little bit what my buyer's consultation looks like. Is that okay? So usually what I do is I welcome them in, we have a little chat, warm up chat, and then I start to ask them about what area they want to be in, their wants and needs for their future home. And then I dig in a little bit further about their financial situation. Okay, so we do have some upfront costs, and then we do want to make sure that I know what your down payment situation is like and closing cost situation. Have you chatted with a lender yet? Usually I know that before this, but I reiterate why it's important to chat with the lender so that we're looking at houses in the right price range, and two, we're ready to pull the trigger when they do find that right house. Because there's nothing worse than getting scooped on a house that you love because you're still waiting for your pre-approval letter to come through because you weren't proactive. So I hammer those things after we do our wants and needs analysis. You want to make sure you get that pre-approval before we're looking at houses and before we're even really doing our home search, because I don't want them to fall in love with a house.
Do
they can't afford.
you often bring a lender to your buyer consults?
I don't, but you can. That's something that some people do. They work very closely with their lenders. And an issue with that is that you're supposed to provide a variety to them.
Right.
So what we do is I say, I have 3 lenders, or I have many lenders that I love working with. Here are my 3 favorites. I particularly enjoy working with this lender. I encourage you to contact each lender, get pre-approved with each lender, and see who happens to have the best deal and who you jive with next.
What if they have a lender in mind already?
I don't push it.
Okay.
I let them work with their lender.
You've covered it and then,
Yep.
and they know where
Yeah.
what their responsibility is
Yep.
versus what your responsibility is.
Exactly. So I say, oh, that's great. Can I get their contact information? I'm gonna reach out to that lender and get the
Sure.
ball rolling with that lender insofar as like our
Okay.
connection.
Okay.
Like I've had that happen multiple times.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, I'm working with so-and-so. We just had a buyer's consultation. Do you mind if you would you mind sending me their pre-approval letter so that we're ready to go? Is there any red flags I should be looking for? How much do they need in closing costs? What have they told you what their down payment is? Like, these are essential things for when you're writing an offer so that you know, like, the pitfalls. Like, you don't want to say, oh, we don't need any closing costs in your offer, and then turns out you do. Like, that's a rough shift to be like, oh, and by the way, we need you now to cover $5,000 in closing costs. That's going to be a full stop for most sellers. So you want to have their financial profile and needs up front before you get to the point of writing an offer.
And the lenders help you.
Yes,
fill
the
all that
lender helps gather all of that information. The lender may ask you some of that information. So it's really a collaborative effort with your lender. I feel like I like to work really closely with the same lenders over and over again if possible. it could just because then you speak the same language, they know how to,
Are
help
certain
you
lenders
too.
better at certain types of loans versus others as well?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the reality is like, there's many, so Kaylee and I, we're a two-man team, she's my team lead, and she's primarily our listing agent, and I'm primarily our buyers. So
Okay.
she takes most of our listings, I take most of our buyers. We still keep those that are close to us, as our own transactions, but we, for the most part, that's how we split our duties. Kaylee prefers to work with one buyer, or one lender, I prefer to work with a different one.
Okay.
But if I get a buyer from her, usually they're already pre-approved with her
Gotcha.
lender. So it's just one of those things, like we definitely we're close, but we jive differently with different lenders.
And you give the client that information or some of that, or do you reach out to the lender to reach out to the client?
I feel it out a little bit. I usually say, do you mind? And I need to work on this a little bit more role play. I say, do you mind if I share your information with them so they can reach out and get you started on the application?
Okay.
And they usually are like, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's usually how it goes.
Okay.
Like, the more casual you are about things, they're cool with it.
Right.
I'll be honest. Yeah. It's a little bit of like hacking, social hacking. You know what I mean? If it's not a big deal to you, it's not a big deal to them. So I've come to, that's another skill I've had to learn, is just keeping my, even if something like you were talking about those upfront costs, that makes me very anxious.
Mhm.
But once you practice it, you role played enough, you roll through it pretty quick. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we only have a half an hour left. Okay. So wrapping up the buyer okay, sorry, I remember I was going through my buyer consultation. So then after I go over that lender information, I talk about the home search and the MLS. So I say, once we get your pre-approval numbers and I know what you qualify for, I'll get a search set up on the MLS that will send you again, I should have them do the KW app, but I love my MLS stuff. So this is the way I do it. I'll send you a connection link through utahrealestate.com. Once you accept that, you'll receive the very first notification of homes that meet our criteria that are in your price range. And then if you see something you like, let me know. I'll set up the appointment to go and see it, and we'll move forward from there. The KW app is really handy because you get so much information in it. So you can actually set up a search that will automatically go to their app through the through command. So it's super handy. You can do it that way. My thing is here's the hard thing. The MLS has so much information behind the scenes as for an agent, not necessarily so much information, but it has a lot of information behind the scenes that I like to see before we go and look at houses. So I then have to search the address in the MLS
You're
to
just
find
doing
it.
a step that way.
Yeah,
Shortening it.
yes. So that's the reason why I do it. It's because I'm lazy. So don't be
Well,
lazy like me. Use the app. It's branded. It has all of your information on it. Like it's shiny and fun. I promise it's so cool. If you don't have the app, because you guys are all, I know you are, get it. You guys are all licensed and have your access, right? Download the app, play with it like you're a client.
Okay.
Get very well acquainted with it.
Okay.
That's something that I come to learn is I need to be on the client side so I know how to recommend them how to work through things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I signed up on my KW website a few weeks ago to make sure
Oh.
that I knew what it looked like.
yeah,
And I got over 100 emails in a span of 4 hours from the
From-
KW website.
from
And-
you or
Yeah, like a welcome email. Like it was
it did a whole bunch of them?
intense. Yeah, and so finally I just unsubscribed. It was all the same email. So now I'm like terrified.
Was it agent yada 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 at kw.com?
Was it what?
Like agent ID number at kw.com?
Like I navigated through command and went to my site. And then like I set up an account on the site with like a
That's
different email
weird.
address.
That shouldn't happen.
And I was like, I
Yeah.
can't tell any client.
Chat with Bradley and honestly, I don't have people sign up through, I don't recommend having people sign up through your app or your website. You should be gathering that information, adding it into command, and then getting them set up on an opportunity if you've had that opportunity to chat with them. That's, yeah, I don't send people there. That's like my lead capture for like randos that search me. You know what I mean? Like that's not, I don't rely on that. That was something that I tried to do at the beginning and people never put their information in. So then you don't have it. So you just gather it yourself. That's my
Okay.
go-to. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. search, and then I say, I'm trying to remember my whole steps. I have it all in front of me when I'm doing it. Okay, once we get our search, okay, and then I let them know that and Rusty does this is amazing what she does. So she already has their agreement preloaded into DocuSign, ready to go. And she has them sign it right there with DocuSign so that they learn how to use DocuSign, because it sucks to run back and forth to houses getting physical signatures and having to scan it in and send it to the other agent. So if you can get you want your clients to become acquainted with DocuSign. Yes, so that's kind of how I do it. And then they're signing the agreement right then and there. And I will bring a paper copy with me so they have a paper copy, and I'll go through it all. And I'll say, okay, we're gonna go to DocuSign in a second. Pull out and then I get it out, I'll send it. Learn that from Rusty. That's just an amazing thing to wrap up and get everything going there. Okay, I'm gonna bomb it through here. Everybody knows the daily success system, correct?
Yeah.
We've all seen it. Okay, TCPA. If you're, again, this is only something you should be worried about if you're using a lead generation method that is giving you random numbers. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. One thing to note is if somebody is giving you their information, they've entered their information into your site or into a form that you have them fill out, you can contact them. So don't worry about it that way. This is primarily if you're getting leads from an outside source. So this is one of my favorites. I engage in every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in relationship with. So it's just another affirmation to say to yourself before your buyer consultations, because it's true. They're there, they're excited to be working with you and moving forward on their whole process. Role play. Okay. Lead generation, you guys got this.
Can I ask you a question about
Yeah.
your buyer consultation? Do you at some point in there talk about like the overall process of buying?
Yes, yes. Okay, so that is one thing I did skip. I'm just realizing. Okay, so I go into the financing, and then I go over the upfront costs, and then that leads into timelines because, okay, so we do this, the inspection happens during this week. The appraisal typically happens during this week. So I have it set up, I say we usually do a 30-day close. Actually, how I say it is, I write my contracts because that gives me ownership. I feel like that lets them know that I am the professional. That's what I am very good at. I absolutely love writing a contract. In fact, I was like, oh my gosh, Bradley asked me what I wanted to do. I was like, the contract's one, and he was like, that's it. So that was, I love contracts. But
do you talk about the timeline?
oh, yes. Yeah. So I say when I write my contract, this is how I typically write my timelines, unless there are other circumstances that we want to modify. For instance, if we want to write a more aggressive contract, we want to write a shorter due diligence period. You want to make sure that you can get your inspectors in. You want to make sure that you can get all your due diligence items done within that period of time. But if you're up against other offers and you have a shorter due diligence period of time, then it's a little bit more trackable. If they have a good agent that can explain that to them on the sales side.
That is the key.
Okay.
That's so that we run into,
Yes.
if they don't explain well.
It's hard. And so, I mean, honestly, part of that is explaining to that agent in a way that they can then convey to their people. So that's why I write, that's not what I'm here with. You will go over make and receive offers. I think, did I see it was with, the Birdners? Those guys are great.
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome. I'm like, that's because that's the one I would love to have, but they're great. They are amazing. In fact, you could probably have them because they're like the best. Okay, so we're gonna go take a step back and we're going to, well, do you guys have any more questions about buyer presentations, buyer consultations? If you do, I'm free to keep going on that, but. Okay, so we are gonna go over finding the motivated, classifying by able, ready, and willing, and qualifying those buyers and sellers, and then the data success system recap. Yeah, I told you mine before, because it's simple. All right, the number one job as a real estate agent is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers. So this is from Gary Keller, the Shift book, which is an amazing book. Everybody should read Shift. So that's the reality. Like, real estate is the business of what? Relationships, exactly. So like Troy was saying, if you get in front of people, you get to build those relationships, you get to move forward. But you want to make sure that you're targeting the right type of people to get in front of. Troy is a super connector. The fact that he can remember everybody's names just sitting in here for 2 seconds is amazing to me. That's one of my goals that I'm working on. And I'll be honest, I cannot remember your name. Sorry, I'm just gonna get it. I'm struggling.
I've been here.
Remind me again. Is it start with a B?
It should be easy if you know
Yeah,
Bridget's
you
name.
know my name.
Bridget. Bridget.
I'm gonna have the same last name.
Phillips, are you with Phillips too?
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Phillips. We've got the Phillipses here. Okay, Bridget, and then
Alicia?
Caitlin. Oh,
Yeah.
that was not Alicia. I can't remember now. Caitlin, Bridget. Jason. Okay. I'm like, I know we've been introduced multiple times. I'm sorry.
But
That's
no,
like-
no way, so that's all- all-
Oh, yeah, that's right. His wife. that's the last meeting.
I'm glad he's.
Oh, your bias. Oh, she's one of the best people. Like, really, every time I see that. Yes. Oh. Misunderstandings. That sounds like a list, not the way that they're trying to say myth. To me, I read it as a list. Okay. So, what myths do you hold about finding buyers and sellers? So we're gonna go into limiting beliefs a little bit.
That they're not out there.
It's so true. They are out there. Do you guys know, I can't remember, the 5 Ds or whatever. You've got death, divorce, decapitation, just kidding. I don't know. I can't remember. There's all the different reasons
Right.
why people need to buy and sell a home, and it's need to buy and sell a home. So there's opportunity out there. If you are there at the right time, you do get that opportunity. Another thing, I'm like, there was a note that said about sharing some of your myths about lead generation. A lot of people will tell you that door knocking doesn't work or that open houses don't work. There's dry times and full house times, and it does get frustrating. But the reality is there is a niche for everybody that works for everybody, and it's different. Everybody does things a little bit different. Like I said, I find the most success honestly through referrals, like whether it be family and friend referrals or those faraway agent referrals coming from out of state. Like I sold a trailer from somebody who just randomly picked me up from a KW site step. You know what I mean? And I actually had 3 transactions come from an agent down in Arizona who had randomly reached out to me and was like, hey, I've got people coming up to Hill Air Force Base. They're coming from the Air Force Base down there in Arizona. So it like building those relationships, making sure that your profile, your referral profile is very well filled out and informative is important. Just everybody has a different way to find their buyers. The one thing I would like to impress that it's hard, but the reality is most of your buyers and sellers will come from your sphere of influence. You really have to tap into your sphere of influence. I just had somebody who I've not been chatted with about real estate, but I worked with for a couple of years and then also had baby things in common with, and I just found out she just bought without me in Clearfield. It hurts, but I wasn't cultivating that relationship with my sphere. That's what I get. Somebody else got her.
Right.
And she sold a year ago and I didn't catch that one. So I'm just like, it's a double whammy. I didn't think that she would be coming back from where she left to. So that's just it. You've got to look out for that opportunity, and that opportunity is usually in your sphere. So don't spend any money until you've exhausted your sphere. That's my tip. Okay, so here's how buyers found their agents, and this goes back into what I was just talking about. Referrals from a friend, neighbor, or relative. All buyers, 47%, that's where they get their agent. 57% for first-time home buyers because they want to go into hands that they can trust, you know what I mean? And repeat buyers go to 41%. This is an interesting stat if I'm thinking it's the one. Used agent previously for a transaction. First time buyers one doesn't make sense to me. So all buyers, 13% use it. That doesn't make any sense. Use the same agent previously for a transaction is probably what that one is. Okay, use the same, yeah. Okay, So 13% of buyers have used, of all buyers, have used the same agent buying again. So what does that tell you?
That's really low.
I
That
think
is
they covered that
really
this morning
low.
a little bit.
Yes.
They said that like 60% of buyers say that they would, but only 20% actually do reuse
Yeah.
the same agent.
Exactly. So that tells you two things. One, that they're not loyal as you'd hope and as loyal as you'd think. So you need to constantly be following up and doing everything that you can to maintain those relationships. And two is just because somebody has worked with another agent before doesn't mean they're going to work with that agent again. You might have that opportunity. I don't want to say swoop them from somebody else. We don't want to swoop from other people. That sounds kind of mean, but maybe you're the better agent for that situation. For instance, I have family friends. I've had a lot of painful things happen just in the last couple of weeks. Family friends that I grew up with, their daughter and I are best friends. They decided to go and buy a house without me, with a builder. It's a custom builder. I'm salty. And then that builder said, oh, and we won't charge you a seller's agent's commission if you use my wife to sell your house.
Oh, wow.
So I lost that opportunity. The reality is, I want to show you the photos because they're so bad, but I don't want to take up all that time. That agent showed up, looked around the house, was like, okay, yeah, all right, well, let's see. Let's take a bunch of photos with a dirty cell phone camera at night and put this house on the market. It sold in 10 days. But you wanna know why? Because it was cheap, because they wanted to move fast. Her motivation wasn't to support them, it was to support her husband's business. You know what I mean? Like, in sharp contrast, because I was petty, I went and looked up her production. And then I shared it with my entire family. And I showed their photos and I talked a lot of crap. So I had to get it out of my system, so I didn't get it out in the real world where somebody could see it. But yeah, it hurt. But the reality is like, are they gonna use her again? Probably not.
You would
They better
send the information to them, or would that?
They didn't give me the opportunity.
It was all
I
done
had
before
no
you
idea.
even
It was
knew.
all done before I knew. They at least gave my mom a courtesy phone call, like, hey, we're using the seller's agent just because it's gonna be cheaper. I get it. I definitely get it. I can't compete with not taking commission. That's the reality.
You get what you pay for though.
100%. I said they better have paid nothing for what they got. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was and then that gives us a bad name because we work hard and we work very well to represent our clients, and to see somebody out there, sorry. I'm sorry still, obviously. So there's opportunity there. First time home buyers, it doesn't make any sense in there, but apparently somebody answered the survey in that. And then repeat buyers, you use the same agent 20% of the time. So you want to hold on to your clients. Some people inquired about a property they saw online, 7% across the board, which I find is really interesting. That's another reason why I don't advise you buy leads, because usually most of them are junk. You're paying a whole bunch of money for nothing. Your website, and this goes back to where I say, that's just pure, like, random capture. 7% of people, 6% of people come off of your website. For seller open house signage, even less, just based off of for seller open house signage. The way you get those leads is by door knocking. Door knocking, posting on social media used to work really well. Like I said, I don't know if it's working for other people. It's not working for me.
Tell me your way of door knocking. Is it the street that the home is on and the street behind the home, the sides? What do you do? How do you do it?
It depends on how much time I have.
Okay.
I want to knock as many doors as I possibly can.
Uh-huh.
I like to do at the very least both sides of the street that they're on. Like, do you have family member you'd like to move in? You know, I always, you always joke, say, hey, would you like an opportunity to pick your neighbor? That people love that. Love that. Make that joke all the time. So that's, and it usually open house is a reason to get in there. You want to dig further. Like I said, Dalton's the king of scripts. he can give you a ton of scripts for what to say. I usually say, I just like to invite you to the open house. They're like, I don't wanna buy anything. I'm like, that's okay. I'm just inviting you to the open house. You know? it
So
gives me-
that door
easier.
knocking's not on there.
No, it's not. So that's the thing, like this is an open house here or a referral from another agent. What we're illustrating here is it's referrals is primarily where people get their relationship, that sphere of influence. Referrals from other agents, open house signage, yeah, and this is how buyers found their agents. This isn't like lead generation type of stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah, okay, yeah. So how sellers found their agent is really interesting as well. So you'll find that they're pretty similar along the same lines, although the biggest difference here is use the agent previously for a transaction. So more agents who are selling their house are using the same agent or that bought a house are using the same agent to sell a house, but that number is still really low, 30% roughly, you know what I mean? More will get that referral from a friend or a neighbor, personal contact by an agent. So that's like mailers, or you call them, or you are door knocking is probably along that same line. Referral from another agent is if they're moving and where they're moving to, that agent has a referral for where they're at. Website is small, visited open house is small, and for sale signs and open house signage is small. I think the thing to keep in mind is, for the most part, visited open house, for sale, and open house signage and personal contact by an agent probably are fairly combined. When surveyed, people probably didn't consider that this is more along the lines of what happened is they actually made contact with the agent that was doing open house stuff. Yeah. That's what I think those numbers are more likely like. Okay, command opportunities. So trying to remember what they wanted us to talk about with command opportunities. I don't have my notes out. Everybody knows where opportunities is in command, correct? Okay. I have the notes here. I just gotta find it. I'm like, what section are we on again? Oh, I scrolled too far. Okay. Oh, leads versus contacts. Okay, once you get their information in, so how we said, ideally you would want to put them in an opportunity, but you don't want to just put those C's and D's in an opportunity. It'll clog up your opportunities. So another way to make sure that they're flagged as somebody that should be thought of as, everybody needs to be reached out to, but as a lead specifically, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. For the numbers to work the right way through command for tracking your numbers, what you need to do is when you very first put somebody's information in, you need to click the box that says mark as a lead when you're putting in their information. Have you guys all seen inside there? Okay. Then once you have an opportunity to schedule an appointment, or you actually make contact and had a two-way conversation, then they become a contact, not just a lead. So then you uncheck that lead box, and that will move that person from being a lead to a contact in command. So that's how you move that forward. That's part of what we're talking about here. Let's see. A, B, C, potential clients into opportunity pipelines. Yes. Okay. We have any on thoughts?
I just liked the numbers that you just showed us as far as like where people are getting their agents from on either side, buying or selling,
So like the thing is like never discount that somebody knows somebody.
Right.
Like they might know somebody. Oh, that's great. If you have any questions, I would still absolutely.
Would you say that's probably why it's so important to really work your sphere of influence? Because, I mean, those people are gonna be your best referral if they know you the best versus just a stranger.
100%. And you want to train your sphere too to refer you.
Gotcha.
So for instance, something that we've implemented in our business, again, this is spending money. You don't want to spend money unless you can afford to spend money. But if somebody tags us on Facebook, like if you know you're from Ogden Page, there's any of the city pages, somebody says, hey, I need a realtor, who knows a realtor? For the people that tag me, I send them a $5 gift card to Amazon. Hey, thanks for tagging me. I really appreciate it. Here's $5. Yeah. Trains them to keep continually tagging me. I want to be first and I want to be tagged multiple times every time. You know what I mean? Another thing to think about on that though, even if I still reward them if they tag me, but if it's been 2 hours, that person's already been hammered, probably has 30 inbox messages. If it's been a couple of hours, I don't reach out to that person. Maybe that's a limiting belief. Maybe I am the person they need. I doubt that they're ever gonna see my message and I don't put in that effort. But if it's been 10, 15, 20 minutes, I reach out and I say, hey, also you might want to take your post off because you're just gonna get inundated with agents reaching out to you. I'd absolutely love to help you. Can we set up a time to meet? You know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry. Did that answer me?
It did,
Okay.
totally, yeah.
All right. I'm like, there's all these things, sometimes it's funny, because I feel like I'm just out there goofing around all the time, but I actually know what I'm doing. After I teach people, I'm like, hey, it's great. Okay. Focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, and what you must do to get it. So this is in a real estate agent. So what do we want? Money. Money.
Finally won.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Absolutely. Within 30 days, right? And then what you must do to get it. We need to sell houses to get it. In order to sell houses, we need to get clients. And we get clients through qualifying them as buyers and sellers. So, along with focus comes qualifying those buyers, and they need to be able, willing, and ready. So come from curiosity. This goes back to asking those questions. So there's many different situations where you may have somebody that's ready, and willing, but are they able? They may not be financially qualified, right? So that's where you have to dig in and find out what's their credit score like. I mean, you may get somebody that's just gung ho, like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm gonna buy a house. My credit score is 540. That's kind of a rough shift. But if they're talking to you and you can get them hooked up with a lender that can get their credit score boosted up and can work with them to make that difference, like you're providing value and you're moving them forward through your pipeline. There may be some people who are ready and able. Some people, maybe they hate their house and they have the money to move forward, but they're not necessarily willing to move yet. You know what I mean? Or you have somebody that's willing and able, but they're not ready. They still have to get somebody else on board, you know? So we need to, in order to get somebody moving forward, we need these three things. They need to be ready, able, ready, and willing. I would say ready, willing, and able. They've got it mixed around. Okay, so classifying your opportunities: A, buyers and sellers; B, buyers and sellers; and C, buyers and sellers. I feel like we beat this like dead horse already. These are the suggested ways that you could classify them. I would say there's another opportunity for it to tag differently than what we talked about before. This is just occurring to me. You could say A, buyer seller; B, buyer seller; C, buyer seller. And then you have your clients who are already established, people who you have a contract with. That's a client. Once you have a contract, you can say A client, B client, C client, things like that. So there's an opportunity to classify or tag your things a little bit differently there as well. All right, do you have any more class? We're good? Okay, like we got a couple more minutes. Qualifying buyers and sellers. Okay. Why qualify? Because it is a win-win. Like I said, you don't want to be showing $800,000 houses to somebody that has a $400,000 budget. When we go and look at those $400,000 houses, their hearts are going to be crushed and they're going to be disgusted. I'll be honest. They'll be disgusted. And disgust and contempt are the killers of a relationship. So you don't want disgust or contempt to come into our relationship, right? So document, follow a checklist, and abide by fair housing regulations. So when they say document, they want to make sure that you have a valid pre-approval letter. It's very important that you chat with that lender and vet them as well. There's some lenders out there that are willy-nilly type of people that haven't done their due diligence. Does everybody know the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval? No?
Pre-approval comes first and then you pre-qualify.
Wrong.
Oh.
It's the opposite.
The opposite.
I made that assumption at first too. So pre-qualification means that a lender has looked over what the buyer has told them their financial situation is and says, this is what you would qualify for. So Rocket Mortgage used to do this. People would put in all of their information. Rocket Mortgage would spit out a pre-qualification letter and then follow up with a lender who would do an actual loan application later. But you'd have people running around with their pre-qualification letter saying, I can afford this house, based off of the information that I put into a form that wasn't verified. So a pre-approval letter, I shouldn't say Rocket Mortgage, that's just the biggest company that was doing that kind of stuff. There's many other companies that were doing that. And I actually know an in-house Rocket Mortgage agent in the state of Utah. It's amazing. He actually lives around the block from me. His name's Peter and he's great. But a pre-approval it's been through, it's called desktop underwriting. So that's where a full formal loan application has been filled out. That includes all of their income, verification of their assets, so like their bank accounts and things like that, as well as a credit check. So their credit has been run, and that lender then knows for certain that they can move forward using the automated underwriting system with the pre-approval, that if we go and offer on a house under this price point with these conditions, we will be approved, we'll make it to the end. When you have a seller, you want to be verifying with the lender when you have a buyer come up, call that lender and say, hey, have they been through desktop underwriting? Are they approved at this price point?
Just to
Verify
double
it.
check what they.
Verify. Yes, that's part of your due diligence as a listing agent. So that's my little bit about spiel about making sure they're qualified. Follow a checklist. So that's another thing that's really handy about Command. Command has checklists that you can automate for you to check off in opportunities. It's really neat. And another advantage to that is a lot of times clients don't know what you're doing in the background. All they get is your text messages every once in a while, whatever communication is going on throughout the transaction. If you preload those checklists so that once the item is done, you can check it off. At the end of the day, they'll get an email letting them know what you did. Oh, verified with the lender that our pre-approval is valid. Check that off. They got an email telling them that you double checked with their lender that their pre-approval is valid.
And that's all going through Command.
Yeah, that's going through Command. So you can have a checklist and you can have it either sent as part of the email or it's just a checklist for you. Like dive in and use the tools. So I'll tell you, like I said, bad habits I created outside of the Command system, outside of the methods and millionaire real estate agent procedures. I'm having to unlearn those negative habits and dive back and keep it simple. So follow a checklist, and then again, abide by fair housing regulations. So no redlining, no steering, no discrimination, pretty simple stuff. Don't be a dick. Yeah. I think everybody knows that, but yeah. Okay, so use a buyer lead sheet. I love a buyer lead sheet because nobody likes to be typing on a computer while somebody's telling you something. Isn't it a little distracting and frustrating when you're trying to tell, like when you're at a counter, somebody filling out a form and they're typing and you're like, hey, did you get all of that? I love a paper form. You can scan it into your CRM. I don't think Command has an opportunity yet for us to scan this in. Maybe your phone can take a picture of it. It can pull the text out and make it a little bit easier. What I like to do is I have a binder, a ring binder, actually not a ring binder, it's a disc binder. And then I have a bunch of these printed out and they're punched, and then I can fill that out and I have that for all of my active clients. So it helps me keep track of what their wants and needs are. I have it on me at all times. Makes things a little bit easier.
Where?
I don't know exactly where this buyer lead sheet is. I think this is just a sample. But these are going over like the qualification questions. So before,
Does she?
is it, okay, so yeah, Allison's amazing, she has everything. So these are basic questions that you need to ask. There's another method called LP Mama. Has everybody heard about LP Mama? So when you're doing that first phone call, you do still want to kind of pre-qualify them a little bit before you get them to this meeting point. So for instance, you want to make sure that you have all of their contact information so you can reach out to them. And then I like to try and get them to talk with the lender before we meet. That's always my big goal, is get them to get pre-qualified with the lender, pre-approved with the lender before we meet for our buyer's consultation, so that I can set up the search right away and shoot them houses right away that I know they're qualified for. And once they're excited, we can go and see it. You know what I mean? So that's my method. Most agents, and it usually does end up being that you get them to the buyer consultation before you can convince them to get pre-approved. That's your kind of, but if you can beforehand, it makes it so much easier. So the very first thing you want to get before you even get into the buyer consultation is like their basic contact information, and if they've worked with, if they've signed an agreement with another agent, that's important. And then if they've gotten a pre-approval done and where they are in that process. If they're still willing to chat a little bit, I let them chat a little bit, but if we wanna get to the table where we can sign an agreement. We don't wanna hear their wants and needs on the phone call. Like, it's good to be indulgent and everything, but we don't want the buyer's consultation to have on that first phone call. We wanna get them to the table, so, because I jump ahead, I get all excited. Oh, yeah, okay, what area are you looking at? Oh, great, you know? Yeah, we don't, our purpose is to get to the appointment, and it took me a very long time to understand that. You need contact, appointment, then it's go time. I went from contact to go time many times over, and it becomes a disaster. Yes, all right. So this is your buyer lead sheet that you'll want to have as part of your listing as your buyer presentation, your buyer consultation. Or a strategy session, as some people call it. So you go through these just general things. How long have you been looking for a home? Who will be living in your home? I like to say, are there any other, do you have kids or animals that'll be living in the home with you? Oh, you have dogs. Okay, do we need a fence? Like, you gotta kind of be mindful of those types of things and how they'll affect different aspects of the home. Like, I had a client who raised fish. Like, okay, what other pets we have? Well, we breed dogs and we raise fish. Oh, okay, interesting. Does that take special equipment? Okay, yeah, and so, yeah, we will need a fish room. You know what I mean?
Zoning and things like that too, like.
Yes, if they have horses and things like that, yes. Do you guys know how to find, I'm such a researcher. Do you guys know how to find zoning information? You can just Google like North Ogden zoning map. And it'll tell you, and then you can usually find in the city code what is allowed on that property for the zoning code. Okay. So just, yeah, if you Google zoning map in whatever city, you can usually find it pretty easy. That makes you look like the expert. Most people don't know you're just Another tip, this is the most amazing thing. If you're looking for a plat map for a property, if you have the tax ID, all you need is the address really. You go to the county website, look up the address to find the tax ID number, and then this is specific to Weber County. It's kind of hard to find in Davis County. You usually end up having to get a hold of the county. But in Weber County, if you do Weber County plat search, it'll come up. The first two numbers are the book, and the second three numbers are the page. And then the last number is the last four numbers is the lot on the map. But it'll have you search the book, the page, and then it'll bring the plat up for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Lots of things lots of people don't know, and it's just readily available, and it makes you look like the expert. You don't have to pay much
I have done all of that before, but I had a friend working with me and I thought that I did it once by myself, but I.
Out of your brain,
Information,
I know.
yeah.
I like Weber County because Weber County gives a lot of information without very many roadblocks.
I've done a lot of this on my own property, so.
It's fun. I love property research. People are like, who owns that? I'm like, let me find out.
Right.
Yes. So, yeah, I get too into the weeds. So, sorry, I'm trying to respect your guys' time. We'll pop through here really quick. So you want to have a sheet to take down. This keeps you on track during your buyer consultation. So you'll want to take detailed notes and then put it into command right away. That's my process. I book out an extra half an hour after a consultation where bye-bye, see you guys. I'm going to sit here and I am going to put everything that we talked about in command so that I don't forget. And if it's in command, it's accessible through your phone from anywhere. So that's my advice for that. Yeah.
How long time frame do you typically hold a consult for?
I aim for 45 minutes.
Okay.
Because I will fill up whatever time you give me. However long I have your attention, I will use it. Touch funds. Okay. You guys have chatted about these a little bit, right? Yeah. 36 convert, 19 to connect. Yeah. They're very handy to have. Qualifying sellers. Sorry, we'll go through this too. Qualifying sellers is really important. So the very first thing you want to do after you get somebody reaching out to you, not the very first thing, but it's very important. You want to make sure, along with the decision makers for the buyer, the decision makers for the seller. So you want to check who's on title. I actually had a situation where I had an elderly man whose little bit younger wife had just left him, disappeared. Like, didn't know where she went. They hadn't seen her for 2 years. but she had somehow finagled to get herself on title on his house and they didn't know. So him and his family are reaching out to me to list their property, and he's gonna go into this nursing home. And before I go to a listing consultation, I look and see who's on title. And I'm like, hey, did you guys know that there's this other person on title? I actually called them up again before we did our appointment because I need that person to be there to sign a listing agreement. So I'm like, hey, this other person is on title. Do you know who this person is? They're like, oh my God, how did she get on there? I was like, I see a deed this date. You know what I mean? And so it's really important to look and find those things before you get into the
How
consultation
do
point.
you do that?
There's a couple different ways. You can look on the county website because you can see owner's information for the property by doing a property search. One of the ways I like to do it is, there's also Remind. Do
On
you guys know?
The MLS.
Yes,
it's
Remind
like,
on
I've
MLS
used
is
that recently
amazing.
too.
Yes, another handy thing about Remind is, sometimes people are reluctant to tell you what they owe on the house. You can get a good idea of what you're walking into based off of Remind because you can see, Remind will tell you the loan amount for the original loan that's active on the property, currently active on the property. It's not accurate as to what the current loan balance is, but it'll give you an approximation. So say their house is worth $500,000 and you can see that they bought 2 years ago with a $400,000 loan. You can estimate, oh, they probably only paid a couple of $1,000s off of that. I would base my estimates off of $4,000. Mentally, I would not present this to them because it'll creep them out that you know how much their loan balance is. But then, like, I had another situation where I could see that they had purchased the home 2 years ago. It's only grown about $30,000 in value. I know that it may not be necessarily worth it to them to sell that home. So I can come in with alternate strategies of, hey, have you thought about renting? I already have that rolling around in my head when we're having that listing conversation.
Is it really hard to manage somebody who's looking to buy and sell?
It's easier than you think.
Okay.
And people get really freaked out and scared about it. The reality is,
Should you
I've actually
separate
tried myself.
those?
I would do them together and I would schedule an hour and a half appointment.
Gotcha.
And so the first appointment, I would focus on the listing. Hey, here's what I think we can get. Okay, and then and the reality is that before they get pre-qualified, they need to know what they're gonna get out of the property. I'm always very upfront with what your expenses are gonna be so that they know what money they're gonna come out with, because I've been in a situation where they didn't realize they'd have all these other title fees they had to pay for. So then there's like $5,000 less that they're getting out of the sale. And they're upset about that when we get down to confirming offers and net sheets and stuff like that, or this is less, so I'm always upfront with that if I can be as upfront as possible. So before I do my listing, we're kind of getting into the weeds. Sorry, if you guys are good for me to keep going, I can keep going. So this goes back into like kind of pre-qualifying your sellers. Like they need to be willing, able, and ready. Listing questionnaire. Let's see. 5 minutes to ask you some very important questions. These are important questions. So this kind of gives you that framework for what you'll be walking into in that listing presentation, right? Like, do you have any questions before we meet? Will all decisions makers be there when we meet? How soon do you have to move and what's motivating you to move? Those kinds of questions are very important. We want to make sure that that they have somewhere else they're going, things like that, go over your questionnaire with them. And yes, sorry, I'm getting into the weeds again about what I was talking about, and I totally forgot what I was going on about with the pre-qualifying them. Let's see, we went over decision makers, title, financing, creepy net sheets. That's where we are. Net sheets. Okay. So how I do it, and we'll get into your listing presentations, but I feel like this is part of pre-qualifying your sellers to make sure that you're coming into the listing presentation with everything that you need, is looking up that background information to make sure that we don't have anything weird on title, and that you are prepared with balance wise, what type of situation you're going to be walking into. Are they even able to sell? This goes into that short sale situation too. Like after paying closing costs and things like that, it's important to get title involved, in my opinion. So once I have a listing consultation scheduled, I then take what information I have and I take it to the title company. I say, can you get me a net sheet for this property? So what they'll need, and I'll let you guys can write this down. for title, what they'll need in order to put a net sheet together is the name of the buyers or of the sellers. They'll need the property address. They'll need a list price or a purchase price. It would be called a purchase price at that point, because that would be the purchase price. And when you're having them run the net sheet, this could go either way.
What page?
I no. This is what the future buyer would pay for it. I would estimate very conservatively. I would estimate your bottom number on the net sheet. Because I would rather under promise, over deliver than over promise and under deliver, especially when it comes to money. So I always pick the lowest number for what our potential purchase price would be. I also add in that there will be a home warranty that will be requested. $700 is the most common that we hear as a request for a home warranty. It can vary greatly, but $700 is the most common that I see. And then they'll need a potential close date. So that's where part of these questions, like how soon do you have to be moving? How soon are you looking to move? So say they want to move in December, say that they need to be out of their house by December 15th. We need to close then December 15th is what we'd say, closing December 15th. The reason that's important is that they can then calculate the estimated taxes to give them very accurate numbers on that net sheet. Yeah.
What were the first two things you said?
Oh, the buyer's or the seller's name and then the property address. They'll need the address to look up the tax information. But your title company will be happy to do this for you because it means that they're gonna get your business. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's one of those services that
The
has.
title company, you're telling the title company regarding the warranty, which has already been
Nope.
determined.
No,
No, it's
just for,
just
this
the
is just for
net
numbers. Yeah, just for numbers for a net sheet.
Just so that when you
Yeah.
go, you can
Yeah.
tell this seller.
We're commonly
It looks like
seeing.
you're really potentially only gonna get this much versus that much.
Yes, so my
Gotcha.
reasoning behind it is I like to be as transparent as possible. That's part of my value proposition. Like, I am very transparent. I'm gonna tell you what your upfront costs are. I'm gonna tell you what I think you're gonna get out of it. If we get more, and I think we can potentially get more out of your house, this is what I think we'll get. In some areas, when I'm doing my CMA, I can see that we're gonna see $10,000 in concessions. That's pretty common to what's being asked right now. So on that net sheet, I will also put and $10,000 in seller's concessions. And then you also, sorry, I almost forgot, and you wanna put commissions in there. And I go for 6% myself, you can go for 7%, you can go for 8% if you think that's what they will agree to. If you think you can get that, go for it. But I usually do 6% is what I put in my net
To
sheet.
split it with the buyers.
Yes, and my title company splits it this much to seller's brokerage, this much to buyer's brokerage in it. But I like to use that as like, here, I'm being transparent. This is what your cost to sell is. Will be very similar with whatever agent you work with. Here's what your estimated proceeds are. How much do you think you'd like to move forward into that next house? And then also just be like, this is my conservative estimate. That I think that your house could potentially go for more. This is including the buyer's asking for a home warranty. This is including the buyer's asking for $10,000 in closing costs or other concessions. You know what I mean? I like to be as transparent as possible. Some other people may not like that, and so that may actually scare some sellers. So it's kind of, you got to fill out the situation when you're bringing out that net sheet. But that's part of what I feel is important for qualifying your sellers, is being prepared for when you go into that conversation with all of the facts that you possibly have. If they don't want to tell you their loan balance on the phone, like, hey, do you know about how much you still owe on the home? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I don't know right now. You know, that's their way of saying, I don't really want to tell you.
Or
Which is fine.
maybe they just
Yeah.
don't know.
Maybe they don't know. That's true. Maybe they don't know. So then you say, okay, here's what you would get out of it. And then we would we still need to pay off your current loan in the listing appointment. I say, do you know how much that is? Do the quick math right there. So, yeah. So make sure all decision makers will be there, just so you know, the meeting will take between 30, 40, 45 minutes to an hour. Is that okay? Great. I look forward to meeting you. So this is kind of like your pre-listing questionnaire. One thing that I get I used to get hung up on is I was afraid to answer my phone if I didn't have my paperwork ready to go with me. Never be afraid to answer the phone, always answer the phone. Remember what you can ask. You can always ask a lot of it later. always answer your phone, never be afraid of answering your phone. All right.
I really appreciated you going over the net sheet, cause I didn't get one prepared.
No, it's not 100% necessity, and honestly, you can calculate a lot of it yourself in all reality. The taxes is pretty interesting because, and again, I like to leave this up to title companies that are better at math, and they do it all the time. That's what they do in their settlement statements. So, like, you can look up what their taxes are, see if it's been paid or not, and then calculate out to the day, and you use a 30-day month, how much they would either need to pay for their portion of taxes, or they would potentially get back from the buyers. I can't remember how it usually works. I have to think about it really hard for a few minutes to remember how to do it. But I have a net sheet, or like I have an informal net sheet that isn't done through the title company that sometimes I will take in lieu of doing a full net sheet through the title company. I just like the title company because it looks really professional versus my Excel spreadsheet.
And you can just call the title company and ask for that, or?
I said, I don't know. I got a good relationship with my title company.
I just
Yeah.
feel like they do that for free, or they
Yeah.
don't check that you are vetted to receive this information. They just are like, here you go.
Well, they don't, they can see, like, documents, deeds, titles, like, who owns the property is a matter of public record.
Right.
You can look it up. There's, to see deeds and stuff like that, we do have to pay a subscription because the county wants to make money off of you wanting to see that kind of stuff. That's where your title company comes in handy too. They have to have those subscriptions already with the counties. They have access to all that information. If you need a plat map that you can't find, ask the title company to see if they can find it for you. Like, this is where it's important to develop those relationships and build out your team. Like, that's where you talk about, you're on a team more than just yourself, and the KW team, you have your team of vendors that you use. So like, there's like Amicus over here, these guys are amazing. They can do, like, their app has different ways to do net sheets, and then you don't even have to ask them. You put in the property address and stuff,
That's
like, you don't even have to ask anybody to do it, you know what I mean? You have the opportunity to add it in there, so. There's lots of different ways to do it. Like I said, I used to do it without the title company, and now I like to just send them, I shoot them an email. Hey, lovely ladies, can I please get a net sheet for these clients, this property, yada, 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 thanks so much. I usually have it within 2 hours. They're very quick. But, and this is, not all title companies are creative people. So, work hard and ask around, find out who's reputable.
Okay.
There's recently a big situation going on with a title company who was holding on to escrow money and not depositing it where they say where they were. and-
Wow.
And they've been for a while. I don't know how they didn't get caught sooner, but like, make sure you're working with a reputable title company. And that's another thing you say to your clients. I work with a very reputable title company that's going to protect your interests just the same way I do.
So the team, Heather, are you familiar with,
Amicus? Or,
is the team Heather at
oh,
Amicus?
Team Heather?
Yeah.
She's
Well, that
Yeah, what is her email?
Yeah, over, these guys over here, like, I always like look over here so that I can be able to see them. I know that's not how it works.
Team Heather.
I honestly haven't worked with him. I luckily, when I stepped into, and this is another interesting thing about what happened when I joined real estate. I stepped into what I think is the best brokerage on the whole face of the planet Earth. Right here, we're in the best brokerage ever, I'll tell you that. And I happen to luck out to be a team and mate with who's now my best friend, and we do everything together and everything works out great. But she already had the business set up. She already had the vendors set up. She already knew who worked well and who didn't work well because she had 10 years of experience before I came along, where she already did all the hard work and had the rough transactions with the rough vendors that didn't work out well. So like, consult, say, hey, I need a recommendation for this. So you can say it on our page, on our KW Facebook page, like our group. Like, people will tell you who they love to work with. If you need a vendor, yeah. And again, there's gonna be vendors you may not jive with. Like, I have vendors who I just am like, I personally, we're awkward. I don't, this is weird. I don't want to work with you just because it's awkward. We don't get along personally. And it's not a bad thing. It's just awkward. But then there's other vendors who I just absolutely love working with. But I was lucky that I lucked out just step right into a killer team that I have. Anytime I've deviated, it's a nightmare, so. I'll be honest. I've had a situation where I've had to rewrite the settlement statement on behalf of the title company so my client can understand it. Which is not my job. I understand it. It's not my job to do that. That's the title company's job. That sounds bad. That's not my monkey's.
No, but I mean, it just shows the
But if
shortcoming
my
of the title
clients- yeah.
companies.
Yeah,
end.
I did not trust that they could do
So,
it properly, so
probably
I had to take it in hand a
Exactly.
little bit, yeah. But I mean, but that's the other thing is that's not my lane either. That's not my profession. That's why we have the buyer's due diligence checklist, where we disclose, I'm not a professional in these matters. We hire professionals for these. I am a professional at writing contracts. I'm a professional at negotiating. I'm a professional at marketing properties. I'm a professional at the common factors that go into what's happening in our market. Like I have my finger on the pulse for that. Title agents can see what the houses are going for in general details, but they can see what's common in contracts, but they don't negotiate. That's not their job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all have our jobs and so I trust that my vendors, I work with vendors that are great and can do their job. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like totally just went on a whole rant there for you guys. I think that is everything we've got here. Yeah. Got to do our daily success system. I'm just gonna think really quick to wrap that up, because qualifying your buyers and sellers. So qualifying your sellers, the other thing is you do want to make sure who you're talking to is who's on title, because there's been cases where people try to sell property that's not their own. Yep. And there's even been some suspicious cases where we've got absentee landowners who live in other states. And somebody is calling and saying that they're them, and they provide a picture of a driver's license that proves that it's them, and they get moving forward, and turns out it's not that person that they're actually talking to. So just look alive, be aware, pre-qualify your people. Never meet anybody for the first time alone at house. Safety first, always bring them here. If you're gonna go to their house, sometimes it might be beneficial if it's like, if you're feeling sketch, bring somebody else with you. Have a partner, have a buddy system. I actually would argue that you should be door knocking with a buddy. Yeah. Safety first. Yeah, say who they say they are, that they own the property. Yeah, I would say walking into the listing presentation with as much information as possible about the property. Like I'll go back and I'll look at past listing photos and stuff like that to kind of get a feel for the property as well. I always ask in my pre-qualification call, have you made any improvements to the property, or have you made any changes? Have you made any changes? Because sometimes they're really not improvements. They
Just knocked that whole wall out and just left it like.
yeah, we took out a wall and reduced the house down by a bedroom and made it real awkward shape.
Right.
That's happened 3 times. I'm like, why? Or solar. We're like, yeah, we've got solar. Okay, how much is your solar loan? You want to make sure you're walking in with as much information as possible so that you are prepared to fix the problem before it even happens. That makes sense. Not that solar is always a problem, but sometimes there's a loan that you have to overcome. And so that's part of the conversation. So yeah, pre-qualifying them, make sure that who they are. Yeah. I think that's all I've got for you guys. Do you have any?
Lots of information.
I've never been on.
Oh, it's amazing. The pro version's expensive. It's like 100, $200 a month or something like that. So there's some neat things you can get with the pro version, but being able to like search your own house.
No, I searched my client's house.
Oh, so no,
And it
so
has
that's,
that loan balance.
I
That's
never
how they're
rely on
paying.
that. I never rely on it. I always scroll down. Sorry, my computer does this the opposite way. I don't have Apple. I scroll down here. You bet. You can see past MLS numbers and transactions that have happened. Oh, on my computer. Okay, so right here, back in 2021, they have a loan for, well, 260 essentially, that's still
Oh, okay.
active on property. It looks like they did a refinance, even if they probably purchased it this back in. And then maybe they did multiple refinances. That would be my guess, just because the prices are the same. Do not say this to them, you'll freak out.
Could it be that like their
This is their
original
original
lender sold it?
Oh, are you in
That
that line?
could be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, That's a good point, you know, I don't often think about that. I'm inclined to think it's a refinance because you've got the change in estimated, interest rate there.
It does say refi loan.
Yeah.
But-
No, yeah, so I don't look at that and very long, I'm like, I try never to make a big assumption, but this will give you the framework of like. Where they're at, and then you have a good idea of what. You know, cause they purchased in 2018, so that original 2018 loan, like they keep their original loan and then refi. Okay. Cash out refi based off of the balance.
So would you say it's fair, like, with the, of
Oh,
the,
you know, they may not, let me invent it.
I just call my clients and be like, hey, you know, are you guys, you know, I know you're looking to buy, but what are you thinking about with your current home? Are you looking to sell that as well or not?
Do they have a home that they own?
He does, and they just got married, and she just sold her condo and moved in with him, then they got married, and now they want to buy a home together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
you did
so-
that.
What? I didn't think, and then my husband said, so you're to sell their home, right? And I'm like, I don't know, I guess.
Yes.
I could.
Yes, you absolutely can. Oh, you asked me earlier about managing the timelines.
No, she did, but
Oh,
it's a good
yeah.
question.
Oh, yeah. So,
To me, I just feel like that's one of the most important things to
it
communicate.
is.
Because I don't.
Yeah,
think
you know
people
what to
know, like,
expect.
100%. No, I agree with you there. Like, Leslie always touches it like she knows what she's doing.
So Remind gives a house value.
I don't trust that.
Is it like you don't trust it, like it's his estimate, don't trust it?
Yes, I would argue that Zestimates are closer than Remind's estimates because that's Zillow now is a brokerage in the state of Utah and has access to sold data. So their stuff has become a lot better. In fact, it's infuriating because I won't look at this estimate, I'll do my own CMA, and then I'll go look at this estimate and I'm off by like $5,000. And I'm like, but it's like, one of my value adds is that we price better than Zillow, you know, because that's what everybody
yeah.
uses, but. As far as timeline goes, the reality is you can ask for time from your buyer to hang out a little bit longer. With all of these facts. Most loans require that you are, pretty much everything that I've ever come across, requires that the new owners occupy the home in 60 days. So post closing, they could potentially stay in 2 months afterwards if the buyer is used to it. So that's somewhat a way to ease their nervousness, but we always try to like work it out. So, I mean, in reality, most buyers will find a home that they like within a month. And then it's another 30 days escrow. You know what I mean? If they're very motivated, you can usually find a home within that time period. So what I prefer to do and what I always advise my clients to do is we get your home ready to go. It used to be a little bit different. We used to say, get your home ready to go, let's put it on the market. It could go either way. It really depends on what their price point is and kind of how the market's moving. Either way, you want their home ready to list as soon as you want to list it. So be that immediately or once they find a home that they love and they go under contract. The reality is they're going to be a more attractive buyer to the potential seller if their home is already under contract and moving forward.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's the ideal situation. We want to get your home listed while we're looking at homes, we want to get your home listed and going so that we're already ahead of the curve. And then we can say, like that's something you say when you're talking to their agents, they're like, okay, but usually, hopefully they call and ask, or you can put it in the MLS notes. Buyer is going to be purchasing another home and may need a lease back for up to whatever days. And then if somebody wants to write a really aggressive offer, they'll offer a free lease back where you're planning on anything for that period of time. They'll have a mortgage payment. That's nice. That used to happen all the time. That doesn't. And sometimes people take real advantage of it. Feel free to put it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's part of what your negotiating skills are. That buyer's agent or even you are trying to negotiate, hey, I'm not living in this property. These people are living in it. They owe me money. You know, I get it. But also you're like, hey, my people are already incurring costs and they have to move to the other house. Like, let's be reasonable. So that's where you come in and the other agents come in. I'm actually waiting on information. I canceled the thing and I'm hoping to hear back, like, let's get going again. I had to negotiate, or I had to cancel to save my my buyer's money out of limbo. And we're negotiating to get back to where we can go back under contract.
Are we supposed to have little helmets?
I don't know. Did you-
I'll ask
you guys hear from-
Allison.
Okay,
I just was on a team meeting this morning and thought, well, I was just a Zoomer, so do I not get a helmet?
you get a helmet and you can put it on 3 for, oh, it's not
Tonight's
very
class.
Yeah, or no, for decorating a helmet. I think
Oh,
you
for
guys can fit.
decorating.
Yeah,
I tried.
oh my god, no. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. If you guys feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
I can hardly thank you.
You bet. Thanks for hanging out so late.